Welcome to the Fan of Life podcast, everybody. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than the ones I usually do. It's really going to be a fun episode of me hanging out with a couple of buddies of mine. I met these two guys about 4 or 5 months ago when I did their podcast known as Talks with Liem. And the host Liem and his cousin Emmett, who is his co-host, we got together and we really had a great time talking about everything underneath the sun for about 3 hours when I did their podcast. And we really bonded. And today we're going to go have some Korean barbecue, but we had a couple hours to kill. So we figured let's have a conversation and let's record it and let's just see where the conversation takes us. And it takes us pretty much all over the place as expected. We talk about a little bit of their history, family, their business, failed business to where they are now with a developing podcast, go a little bit behind the scenes and what it takes to do that. And then we talk a little bit about, is there such things as being too rich? Are billionaires necessary? Do rich people really avoid taxes or do they pay taxes? And you see that we don't agree on all fronts. This conversation shows that people, friends especially, should get together and talk about pretty much everything. And we can agree, slightly agree, fully agree, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, conversation is the number one thing that we need to make sure we keep alive. Honest conversation. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Come along for the ride. Like I said, it's going to be about 2 hours. So break it up or just pop it on a road trip and enjoy the process. Oh, disclaimer. We're also a bunch of knuckleheads. So when we start throwing stats and numbers out, discard all that information because after listening to it again, we were way off on a lot of things. But the ideas and the concepts and some of our beliefs and philosophies that we talk about these various subjects, I hope it does come shine through. So anyway, enjoy the show, guys. Enjoy the podcast. And thanks for listening.
All right, we're recording there, recording here. And like,
should we shave my double chin off?
all right, we're good.
Get the whole chin?
We're good?
Yeah.
We're good.
Do you think it's worth it? I've been thinking about. No?
Nah, you're a dude. Milk it for all you can.
Well, no, but I want to get a thicker jaw too, like an implant.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like a caveman jaw.
Yeah. They do that. They do that. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fan of Life channel, Fan of Life show. I think we're going to keep that part in.
Okay.
Because today's conversation is with two new friends of mine. Had the privilege to be in their studio and had the honor of them inviting me back to their studio to use for one of my recordings. So today we're going to have just a fun, I guess, no agenda conversation to see where life takes us, see where, how much we can get in trouble.
Oh.
And then we'll take it from there. Today, I am with the gentleman from the Talks with Liem podcast. We got Emmett, we got Liem himself, and behind the scenes, his wonderful producer. I'm not going to say who she is because I think he's going to keep her to himself. So anyway, guys, what is up, everybody?
Rick, good to see you, man.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm back a lot sooner than I thought, and I think full disclaimer to the audience, I think our ultimate goal today was to have Korean barbecue. So so we figured if we're gonna have Korean barbecue, might as well just get together and shoot shit and see what happens. All right.
Have you bought a Corvette since the last time we saw you?
You know what? We're getting close, buddy. We're getting close. But I've been saying that for the last 20 years. So we'll see what happens. This might be it. No, I really had a great time talking to you guys when I was here for your show. And it was one of the things that actually might change the trajectory of where I want my show to go a little bit. I enjoyed it.
Bad influence.
Yeah. I enjoy the natural conversation, the long format. I've always had it in my mind where, when you get to a certain point, 45 minutes, an hour, people kind of lock off and stuff like that. But I think after, visiting you guys, I feel that, if the bottom line is if the quality is there, if it's interesting, people will listen and they'll listen in chunks or whatever they'll do. Right. So I'm kind of contemplating how I want to restructure 2022 and then release it in audio form for podcasting as well too. But that's enough for me. Today is not about me. I want to chat with you guys. I got to know you guys a little bit from when I visited, and you guys each all have your story. You interjected a little bit, but tell me a little bit more about yourselves. I know you two are cousins. You guys are related. So how did this thing even come about?
Yeah, we were born this way.
Oh, the cousin part, you were born this way.
Oh, right.
Let me rephrase. How the podcast come about?
Podcast came about from just watching Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, some Neil deGrasse Tyson. Those podcasts Neil deGrasse Tyson, he did more documentaries at that time, and he's jumped into podcasts. But it's Emmett defines the key point that I try to get in our podcast is he calls nuggets of wisdom. So say when we interviewed you, we're trying to say, hey, what have you done with real estate? What have you done with your credit debt in the day? How did you learn from that? How did you make it better? How can you give advice for people to get better, to live through that better? And that's nuggets of wisdom. Someone that's lived it for 15 years, 20 years or whatever. That's what I'm trying to get on this podcast. That's what I saw in some of Joe Rogan's podcast, not all of it, maybe only 10% of it. Lex Friedman, I think I see that in most of his podcasts. Started thinking about that, 2 years ago? I remember mentioning it to you, Emmett. I think at the beginning, Emmett he didn't have much of a reaction. So he was kind of like, yeah, if you do it, I mean, if you enjoy it, then do it.
Yeah.
I was busy. I wasn't going to jump in and be like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
But also I think it took a while to get to this format because when you started, I think we were talking about, lawn chairs in the park and.
Well, that was the COVID thing. So
Yeah.
when COVID hit, the idea started before COVID, and then when COVID hit, I was like, shoot, what if the world turns into a COVID infested for 5 or 10 years? What if?
Zombie land.
Yeah. So I actually started planning. I have a lot of footage where I was out at a park. I had like just these folding chairs that I brought. I brought a table and I brought sun reflectors to light reflectors that would reflect the sun to the subjects. So everything was planning for outside. And then that ended up, it wasn't really necessary as COVID started to our lives got back to normal. So, but even before that, even when I mentioned Joe Rogan, I think Emmett and the close friends around me, they're kind of like, not so much twirling their eyes at me, but I totally understand it. Even when I think back at it, I'm like, holy shit, to start this podcast now, what I knew then, what I know now, and how it's turned out. Like it's been a journey. So I don't blame any of my friends that kind of roll their eyes at the idea.
Sure.
Because it's a big undertaking. And then when you hear the word Joe Rogan, I tell my friends, hey, I want to kind of do a podcast kind of like Joe Rogan.
Right.
They're like, you versus Joe Rogan?
Yeah, who doesn't want to do the Joe Rogan show, right?
Yeah, but I guess in that way, yeah. If I were to do one, there would be no competition. There's no way.
No, I'm saying everybody would love to
get that $100 million Spotify check, you mean?
200 million, was it? Yeah, whatever.
Well, either or is a nice check.
Yeah.
I'm not even jealous of the money. I'm jealous that he's able to. I mean, he's the biggest show, so he can get any guest
at this point
he wants, right? Yeah,
100%. Yeah. I heard, during the election, that the campaigns were knocking down his door, and for him, it's like, I don't want to be. Well, the problem that the mistake that they made is, according to him, is they wanted to structure it. He's like,
right.
I'm not, NBC. I'm not Fox. You don't structure my show. We're gonna sit here. We're gonna talk.
Yeah.
And there's no notes, there's no this and that, no one's going to come and whisper in your ear.
Yeah.
So I think it's, it's a breath of fresh air. And I think obviously, at the end of the day, I'm a big commerce guy. I'm a big business in terms of capitalism. The audience will always dictate the market. And I think the audience has spoken, right? For the most part, it's like, these are the forums that people want to go to because it's hard to pitch a lie or to talk about a narrative for 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff seeps through, right?
Shit.
So how did he slowly convince you? Because I know you said you're like, I'm busy, you're a realtor in Las Vegas, so you have your own life, you have things going on. How did he coerce you?
I wasn't against it. So I'm all for it. I'm sure I asked a lot of logistical questions on the front end, like how are you going to pull this off, right? So a lot of times that's the nuggets we're looking for. Like you could say, I do a podcast, right? And people will accept that. But what we really want to know is what does it take to do a podcast, right? So we don't know when you're watching the show. There's 4 lights, there's 2 cameras, there's a whole lot of audio equipment, there's a soundboard over here, there's all kinds of lighting in the background. Yeah. And those are the kind of things you really want to know, like, one salient factor, was this $5,000 in equipment or $10,000 in equipment? How much equipment does it take to put this on?
$3 to $4,000.
Yeah.
So then that's a nugget of info that people really, like if you want to do a high quality show like this, you really need $4,000 worth of equipment to have awesome video, awesome sound.
Yeah.
So how did I get involved? I was the guinea pig. So because Liem's my cousin, we lived together and we set up the studio here in this living room, and so just to test all the lighting, test all the sound, we just at some point your test is okay. Let's run it.
Right.
So as the guinea pig, okay, I'll be the guest, I'll be a realtor, and you ask me questions about being a realtor.
Yeah.
So I think we ended up doing 2 because at some point he had revised and added so much equipment and quality to what he originally did. They're like, this is a substantially better show. Let's redo it, do a part 2.
We had lavalier mics at first.
Okay.
And the little mic that you clip onto your shirt. And those are good, but this is like night and day difference. So once I got this, then we did a part 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was the guinea pig. Lim and I, we've been buddies all of our adult life. So we converse really well, and we have a lot of intellectual conversations, a lot of back and forths. If we don't agree on something, then we'll butt heads and hear each other out and make our points, and then it becomes an interesting conversation. I think maybe that's what he's looking for with every guest. I think at one of the guests, he was like somebody that I was kind of interested in the field or something. Like one of his early guests, he was like, I'm gonna have a guy on that's a specialist in this, and I was interested. I forget what it was because we're talking so many podcasts ago now.
80.
Yeah.
Wow.
So one of your early guests was like, yeah, I wish I could. Oh, that's what it was. Because I would review his first recordings, and I was like, man, I wish I was there and I could have asked questions.
Oh.
Like if I was an audience member, I would have asked this question. Because Lim's going into it. He's producing and directing and doing all editing, and he's setting the guests up, and he's and he goes in running the show.
Right.
But I can come in as just another audience member.
Right.
And because so a lot of times I don't know who's coming.
Right.
Like
really?
Like some guy named Anthony came on last night. I had no idea who he was or what he did.
Cool.
And so I'm able to step in with like a fresh, naive zero.
Right.
And then ask the questions that any audience member would ask.
That's actually interesting because I will point that out. The vibe that I got from being on a show, your dynamic works really well, right? Because obviously, Lim, you're probably close to 100% of all the logistics, right? The equipment, the producing, probably reaching out to guests, working all the legal stuff and et cetera, and having a co-host that comes in that kind of represents, a fraction or potential audience. What would they like to hear? That's a great point. Let's elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Gives you, alleviates some of that pressure on you and gives you, some rules that I think is valuable because you can't hit it all. You know what I mean? I mean, I think obviously right now, anyone that does podcasting, the golden standard is Joe Rogan, of course, right? But if you're a big fan of Joe Rogan, then you know how amazing Jamie is, right? So his job is I'm just going to talk to the guests, and I think that's a great and smart thing that you guys have done. I guess it's a little bit too soon to ask this question, but why not? Where do you see it going for you guys?
So one of the beauties of having certain finances set up, I don't have a set goal in mind, meaning of course everybody would like to make money off of their time, and passive income would be great on this, but I don't know how exactly that's going to come out, meaning is a sponsorship going to eventually come, or do I have to push some type of advertisement, or is it just a time thing? Like I have some random Yellowstone video that I produced 2 years ago, and now I think it's something at I forget the number I just looked at today. I think it's something at 6,000 views, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
right.
Oh, can we get a park ranger to come down? Red Rock is right here, right? They got park rangers.
Do they?
Yeah. I think it's a state park, but not. Yeah.
You know how many years living here, I still haven't hiked at Red Rock.
It's worth visiting.
No, yeah. I mean, I know it's pretty, but I'm like, man, do I want to drive that far to hike?
You're too busy making money.
Oh, yeah, man. Losing money, making money, catching up, all that good stuff.
So I think about 2 weeks ago, a podcast that I released, which I really, really enjoyed that one. It was with Renee and Scott. Renee's a psychologist. Scott's a high school teacher. And I felt like their nuggets of wisdom, I don't know if you felt it. Like I felt they were just bombing us, which was fantastic. Like Renee I'm asking because the high school teacher, I asked him, so how psychologically do we get kids more involved in high school? Is TikTok and Facebook ruining us? It was just great to have a psychologist and a high school teacher talk their different angles. And it kind of, I think it boiled down to better parenting, that to have parents not fuck up their kids.
Sure.
It's such an important, crucial time for kids at that age. And then more funding into education. That was that's the end of the conversation, but the lead up was just great for them to pound and punch those issues, those
deadbeat parents.
to prove those points with so much evidence. Where to me, at the end, I was like, holy shit! Like, America, we need to put more money into funding the schools and getting somehow. I don't know the better parenting. That's a tough thing.
Sure.
That's a big thing. Like money financially. They talked about having like a mecca of school, where children could go to school, have food, and not have to worry about where they're going to sleep tonight. Because the high school teacher was talking about some kids come in hungry, tired, and because they come from poverty.
Sure.
So anyway, where I'm getting with that is that podcast, I think, to me, is a pinnacle of what I feel like my content is about. But I do not think it's going to be a pinnacle for YouTube views. There's a difference.
Right. No, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I joke with my friend and I was like, it's so gut wrenching. And I'm sure you guys have felt this, especially in the early days. I think we have an inside joke that we won't bring out, but about views. My point,
it's all my own clicks. That's the views.
a little inner competition. 'Cause I'm competitive, but anyway, my point is that it's so crazy and it's heart wrenching. It's gut wrenching when you pull your heart into something. Let's say an episode, or you have a great, phenomenal conversation, and just like you said, there's nuggets flying left and right. Oh my gosh! And then performance-wise, as far as views, it doesn't do anything. And then you look at if anyone knows that reference, you should know by now because the world's going crazy. And you look at the Island Boys, and they got 10 million views on a dumb rap video that they did. And it drives me insane.
Well, is it that most people aren't looking for this kind of entertainment?
Yeah. And what I think, I really appreciate you bringing that up as far as knowing, at least for now, what your mission is. It's not for you. You have a strong mission on your podcast, right? It's because it's so easy and so enticing to go, okay, if this is what sells, then this is what I'm going to become. But I'm like, that doesn't make my heart happy. You know what I mean?
I mean, I kind of want to do the stupid shit though.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone's stopping you. I think the point, the standpoint that you're coming from, you guys are coming from, and hopefully, I'm coming from too, is there is no objective in the monetization of this thing. I'm genuinely doing this as a pet project, and where it goes is where it goes, right? Because we've gotten to that point, but hopefully more people will come on board. But as a quote unquote creator, man, sometimes you watch that and you go, gosh, that's just like a punch in the gut. You know what I mean?
Hey, can I ask you guys about schools here in Nevada?
Yeah.
The marijuana went legal maybe 5 years ago or something, and that was supposed to. A lot of that money was supposed to go to the schools. I don't think it has.
Well, go ahead, Liem. I have some thoughts on that.
I don't know enough about it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the government public sector, not private sector, public sector. It's not money. It's spending of money, right? It's allocation. And I grew up as a California kid, right? You guys remember the California lottery?
Yeah, that was supposed to fund our schools.
That was supposed to make our school better. We're going to be state of the art.
That was not the reason I bought them.
Yeah,
but yeah.
It's been going on for 50 years.
Yeah.
And
where's the money?
Exactly.
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Yeah. Teachers unions are strong. You can't fire bad teachers once they get tenure. Schools are being compacted, 50 kids, barely a teacher that's present. And I don't blame the teachers. I think I'm definitely going to dive into that podcast you mentioned, but I think from an education standpoint, we have to revamp the whole education system, period.
Yeah.
We're already behind, but we're really going to be behind.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And like I said, it's weird. Like, do you guys even understand Common Core math? What that is?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
I'm too old. I'm 44.
Yeah, I seen it because my friends have kids and stuff like that. I'm like, well, why are you making something that doesn't have to be harder for the sake of being harder? And it makes
people say it helps you later.
How?
The way it conceptualizes the math in your brain, it structures it so that it makes a lot more sense procedurally instead of just memorizing. For example, instead of memorizing 11 times 12, it turns it into a procedure that then you inherently understand how to multiply 11 times 12. Something like that. I'm probably not saying it very well, but in some way it makes the math more embedded as a process than memorizing.
Pre-internet, pre-Google, all this technology, I can say, all right, I guess there's something to that, but
Yeah,
it's
you know what's a similar example is in China, they use a lot of abacus. So an abacus is a wooden thing with beads on it, and you slide the beads around to multiply and do math. You can multiply and do some math functions on it. And if you teach a kid from very, very, very young to do an abacus, they get real fast at it, right? And then you take the abacus away, and what they find that kids are doing is they have a mental model of an abacus in their brain.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
they're just using their imaginary abacus, and they'll still do this with their fingers, but they can do the math very quickly because they have a mental abacus sitting in their brain.
Like they won't have the abacus in front of them.
They'll just go,
physically.
blah, 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 and
Interesting.
Their fingers will still move. But I think from a philosophical point of the Common Core, I'm for it, because when I think about me and Emmett's upbringing, I find that Emmett's, in his earlier years, his way of learning things conceptually was much better than mine. Mine was memorization. When I was a kid, my whole goal was to go out and play. My mom said, if you do your homework, then you could go out and play. So if I had 3 hours of homework, it would behoove me to try to figure out how to do that 3 hours of homework in 30 minutes. So I started figuring out, like, okay, if I memorize these sentences in this book because the teachers assigned that area in the book, I started realizing, okay, they want me to memorize this sentence and then this sentence. I kind of started figuring that out, and I squished my homework down to about between 30 minutes and an hour. But growing up later in life, that I feel like that actually hindered me. Where
it would have been better reading the book.
I would have been better reading the book, conceptualizing what the material of the book,
Comprehending.
Interesting.
all the concepts, and even reflecting on the concepts. Where I felt it wasn't much later in life when I was like around 30, I was like started asking Emmett, like, hey, when you read books, when you did math, when you had the history books with politics in there, how did you remember this and that? And the way he explained it, I'm like, oh man, like you're way ahead of me. Like I forgot everything that I memorized because I memorized it only for that week.
Right. For the purpose of the test,
Yeah.
quiz, whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when I think about Common Core, I think if theoretically that's how it works, I'm
Right.
for it, but I don't know enough about Common Core. When I've seen, that's what I've seen.
Hopefully kids are learning better.
Yeah. Cause I mean, as a software engineer, conceptual things, that's how,
Right.
that's a huge thing to conceptually break down a database. And then, if you have an order, you gotta, I'm just conceptually in the database, if you have an order and maybe it has hamburgers, fries, but then you got to realize, well, those items are items in the order. You have to conceptualize how to design the database. And that's very much like the learning thing. I was like, man, if I would have,
Is ketchup separate?
it would be an item still. It would be a type within the item.
Okay.
So that'd be it'd be a third normal form connection. Anyways, so if I would have learned that way, I imagine maybe even my programming skills would have been better earlier.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I would say I was very lucky too to have been a smart kid, a quiet kid, and to have a very, I mean, it was a stable home. my mom was a very loud,
Almost dragon mom, almost.
no, but it's a lot of kind of cuckoo nonsense.
Yeah.
So she was very loud with a lot of nonsense. But her heart, she loved us, and like my parents loved us, and they tried to do well for us. So they always provided food. They weren't beating us. They weren't,
Right.
they weren't doing shitty things. So they were trying to take us out on the weekends, take us to the park, and
Right.
and so I was lucky to have all the building blocks set so that you can build the house of education on that.
I mean, I think you guys said it earlier, right? It's like parenting. It's so important.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and complain about my parents, but I probably had it better than most people.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I know, Liem, you were talking about when we met, you came here because of Emmett. So Emmett was already here, right? So did you grow up here or?
Oh, here in Vegas?
Yeah.
I was raised in San Diego. Well, Emmett kind of was San Diego.
We grew up in San Diego. Yeah.
Okay.
He had some time in Thailand, but
No, he came here for a girl. He
well,
lied to you for 3 hours.
You came,
No.
You came
I-
after Vietnam.
Yeah,
right?
yes, you do remember. So I fucked up my credit. I was actually sick of the rat race here, so I decided to to flee to Australia and try to find a new life in Australia, that there was aspects that I didn't do. I didn't make the right steps I didn't do the right things in Australia. Like I didn't find a job and I didn't try hard enough. And I think, whatever. Then
You didn't dress up like a crocodile hunter?
I don't think that hurt me, but so Australia to Vietnam. I spent some time in Vietnam, found a job there, but it was still wasn't happy. It was fun. It was a fantastic trip.
Sure.
To be sick of the rat race and then go through that, it gave me a different perspective in life. It's what I needed. I think everybody have different stories for everybody, each to their.
Wait, so you checked out of corporate America for a while?
Mentally, yes.
Yeah.
I was sick of, for whatever reason, my tall white friend was getting promotions faster than me, and I felt like I was very good in IT. I was a programmer then, and it's like, why is everyone around me got higher pay that's either taller or white? And I was like, what the fuck's going on? I feel like I've worked with I think every single programmer I've worked with, they're like, damn, you're a pretty good programmer.
Yeah.
And I just never got the pay. So it was beating me up mentally. So I wanted to get out.
Sure.
So then went to Australia, Vietnam, Texas for some time. And then I was bleeding out of money. I had no money. I told Emmett like, hey, what are you up to? And Emmett's like, hey, I'm here in Vegas. I'm working on a business plan. I'm working at a restaurant so I could slowly understand restaurants, and I want to open a cafe. He's all, I forget if you paid for the plane ticket. I don't
Sounds
remember.
right. Yeah.
He said, I'll pay your plane ticket, come out to Vegas. I'll help you out. And he's, I know you're a hard worker, get you back on your feet. And so I came out, and then that's how we got here in Vegas. And after that was the business plan to open up Cafe Hoppa, which I forget if we talked about that on our last part.
No.
So Emmett,
If you ever want to open a bikini coffee shop, don't do it.
so it was, Emmett made a fantastic, I'll call it a blitz business plan where everything was, down to how much the price of cups to buy a cup, how much to buy tables, how much to buy chairs, how much to cost to have 2 bikini girls on staff, and the maybe some of the logistics, how we're going to actually figure out a place to rent for that and how to hire for that. So he did a fantastic job. Blitz, because I call it a blitz. I don't know if there's a term for this type of business plan.
Maybe gorilla or shoestring, but blitz works. Yeah.
I call it blitz because with bikini girls, you want to get on newspaper, radio, magazines ASAP, because that there's a uniqueness to the marketing.
Sure.
But we didn't have a huge budget. We didn't have $250,000. We went in on a shoestring budget, and we were able to test it out. It didn't work out to the numbers that we thought. We got on radio, we got in newspaper, got in magazines. But
yeah, in the end, there was like 100,000 dudes in San Diego. They're like, "Oh my god, that sounds so awesome! I'm totally gonna check that out one day."
One day.
Yeah, but
this is in here, or is this in California?
It's down in San Diego. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so at the time, this was right after the 08-09 economic. It was slow economic times. So this is probably around 2011 or something, 2012, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay.
So, not that I was too aware of that, but at that time I thought, if you're going to open a bikini coffee shop, because in Orange County there's some Vietnamese bikini coffee shops. So that was the inspiration of like, man, people want coffee.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like hanging around bikini girls, right? Yeah. So I figured that marketing would have high growth, and I was like, if we do this in San Diego, it'd be a hit. Which I was not correct, but I thought, I was also familiar with Vegas, and I was like, this is not going to work in Vegas. You can go, there's sex sells everything in Vegas. Yeah. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense in Vegas. Who knows? But we tried it in San Diego, and we could go in. I don't know if you want to go into all the details of
whatever you want to talk about.
What worked and what didn't work, but we didn't last 6 months.
Really?
Yeah. Just part of it was our low budget. But a lot of it was our landlord was kind of a dick. But it was also hard to find a landlord that would lease to a bikini coffee shop, right?
So let's stay on that for a little bit. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't mean for this to turn out to be an entrepreneurial talk, but why the hell not, right? So,
why not?
So what they say, 80% of businesses will fail in the first 3 to 5 years.
Especially restaurants.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hospitality's rough, dude.
Yeah.
Rough. What were you feeling at the time?
The time that we closed, or I was crushed. Because I knew how much me and Liem had put into it. Liem stepped in and he did so much. You know, looking back, you know, I was planning to do it on my own before Liem came into the picture, but I can't imagine having even been half as successful without Liem's help. So as a team, it was awesome. So, but to get to the point where you go, this is not going to work out.
Yeah.
That's crushing to know, well, fuck, there goes all of our hard work and dreams and effort. But also for my girlfriend and my mom, because they were kind of living vicariously. My mom especially was, you know, she's the kind of lady that'll always tell you, oh, you should open a pho restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. So
my mom is 50 right now.
Yeah.
Over here in El Block.
Yeah. No, it's great. You just make the pho, people will buy it. You'll be rich.
Yeah.
And, but the Bikini Coffee Shop to her was just as good. Right.
Yeah.
And she was so excited and so happy through
Proud.
me. Yeah. So that the moment that I thought, oh, fuck, the numbers aren't going to work. We gotta shut this down instead of just bleeding another, 50 or 100 grand to see if we can dig out of a hole of debt. The decision was analytical because my degree is in accounting.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so the decision just presented itself, but the emotional side of, oh, but this is going to destroy my mom and my girlfriend. My girlfriend, that she put in so much to help us with it. Right, she was on board and helped in so many ways.
Yeah,
like when you flip a house, we took over an old yogurt shop. And so we tore out the floors and, redid the whole place and brought everything up to current health code. And so we did so much work ourselves because you can't afford to be paying every damn contract. Yeah. Sure. So,
and props to her because she put out like almost, I don't remember, it was almost 50% of the funds in the beginning. So
wow.
Yeah, she was in on the money. So,
yeah. And then, so the emotional side and also the physical. So that 4 months, it felt like 120%. Like, we were there 12 hours. Was it 12 hours or 14 hours a day?
We would basically wake up all day and then till the time you go to bed.
And then even when we came home after closing up the shop, then it was like, hey, what did we do good today? What do we need to change? What do we need to plan in the near future? Then, I mean, dealing with the staff, if they showed up late or whatnot. But I mean, the staff was actually pretty good. They were great. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just the physical, I guess, what's it called when you renovate the place in the very first before you open. So I mean, like destroying the floors, doing the toilet where I think I cut my finger at one point. I'm like, oh shit, literally shit. Oh God, I need to go wash this. You guys take care of it.
Yeah, you're off the crew. You're off. You're on the bench.
There's no workers' comp either.
I mean, from that to dealing with, one of the things I think Emmett feels a lot of emotional being upset at is the city when they come in and check the regulations, the paperwork, and they wanted a grease trap when we weren't frying anything. We didn't cook anything.
Yeah. So the health department and the city regs and they have an extra health department down there called the Food Establishment Wastewater Division.
Okay.
So all of these government agencies, but the health department in particular have lost sight of the mission, right? Their job should be to make sure we're not poisoning anybody, right? You want to make sure people are making healthy food. You're not doing anything dangerous or stupid. And we want you should be supporting small business. It should be an educational and support role instead of a punitive, destructive role. Like it was like they would come in and it seemed like their goal was to
100%.
Just destroy us. And it's like, what the fuck do you want? Like, this doesn't make any sense. There's a thing where, so when you open a restaurant, you get your letter A, right? But you got to pass the initial inspection to get that letter A. If you don't pass it, you get a B or a C or whatever, and you got right. So not good for your business. They had a thing where like, oh, you can pay extra $500 and we'll come to a pre-inspection, and then you'll know that you're ready for the real inspection.
Right.
So I paid the extra $500, and they come in and they give me, hey, these 4 things, you can fix it up and you'll be good.
Yeah.
So I fixed the 4 things, and then they come back and they give me another 7 things during the real inspection. I'm like, well, what the fuck was the pre-inspection? You didn't tell me these 7 things on the pre-inspection.
Right.
But then what's my recourse? Can I go sue the health department? Is that going to be a path to success? Or it's just this obstructive agency that is not helping small businesses get anywhere?
Well, a couple things. I mean, number one, it's a revenue generating entity, right? And then number 2, you give certain people power. I mean, you can tell when it goes to their head.
Yeah.
because they exercise it to full extent, And then every now and then you get someone that doesn't take their job too seriously,
Right.
And they go, hey, do this, you'll be good to go. But yeah, they're guys and gals that are going there because they know. I mean, really, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you try to build a brick and mortar business, your livelihood is in this. So they literally have your life at stake. Your livelihood at stake, and you see that it's gross to me. But
there's I'll add a little fun story. Or I'm going to change topics. Do you guys want to stay on? So when
how we were living on Jack in the Box at the time.
In the beginning, when I asked them, how are we going to pay for these girls? Like, what's your game plan? He's minimum wage. I'm like, minimum wage? They're going to be in bikinis. You think we're going to actually be able to actually work that angle? And he's like, they're tip money. It's going to come out pretty good.
Yeah.
I actually didn't believe Emmett at first. I was like, I think you're crazy, man. I think this is not going to work out. I think that's a glaring.
There's a hole in your plan.
Yeah. This business plan, that thing is going to kill us. And I think at one point we found modelmayhem.com, which is a site where women go post to become models, or that they're available to be models at events. So we
call them booth talents. Booth, like trade show, not booze.
Boots.
Boots.
So then we
Show
found
me your booth.
We found a loophole where I think we had to I set up as a business account in there, and they try to like charge us like, I forget what it was, like $50. I don't remember that, $50 a month to message models. We fudged the system and then we created Emmett a model account, and then we can freely message girls.
Smart.
So then, so with his account, I just created a template. Hi, this is Emmett from Cafe Hapa. I'm opening a place in San Diego. Would you like to? And I just every day I just went through the directory and just blasted out like hundreds of messages, and then we started reviewing them. And then the part of the business plan, I forget. I don't know if it was written in the business plan, because minimum wage. There's also Hooters, the restaurant. So you pay minimum wage at say Hooters. If they work there, they're going to make massive tips. So they're not going to want to go work at a cafe that's a small cafe. So then Emmett's ideas was, well, we'll target 18 to 21 years old, because Hooters is 21 and up.
Yeah. This is coffee, so 18 works.
Yeah. So it was a great idea by Emmett. And then so Model Mayhem, I kept the filter.
You're making me sound like a real pervert now.
I was gonna say either genius or a pervert.
Yeah.
Now those two things are not exclusive.
That's right.
But anyway.
Just ask Larry Flint.
So then I remember the very first time we did the very first interview for the first girl. I forget who it was now. I forget it. But anyways, I remember we asked Emmett's girlfriend to be there, because the one of the questions is, hey, this is a modeling gig, which puts you in a bikini. So do you bring a bikini? Yeah. Bring your bikini, and then you have to show it. So we also need to make sure you don't have a swastika tattooed on your arm, or hate messages tattooed somewhere. So that was part of the process. And I think
luckily that never happened.
I forget if it was him or me. I do remember. I think it was Emmett. I think I heard his breath leave his
body.
Yeah, before he could for him to actually say, he's you have to get and show us in your bikini. Is that okay? Like the air came out before you heard it, and I was like, my heart was pounding too, because I'm like, this is like we're walking on a legal.
Well, because we're coming from corporate jobs, right? And you're so used to living in a cubicle, having an HR department, and knowing that any misstep, like you can't be in a corporate job and make a booby joke,
right,
or anything, right? So you're for years you're living in this world of there's this definite line I cannot cross, right? And being in an interview and asking a gal, okay, can we see you in your bikini now, is such a weird departure from that world.
No,
that you're
totally.
used to.
Yeah, sure. I can see that.
This
is before your life in Las Vegas, so you weren't sure how to maneuver around that.
Well, because for me, I'm a very follow the rules.
Sure.
I'm a square dude. Like, so I'm like, I think we can navigate this, but I'm not trying to do anything we're not supposed to do.
Right.
So all of these things were of necessity, and to try to make a business that the idea is, if you got bikini girls, you'll sell faster, right? People talk about it. You'll get more, you sell more coffee than if you're just a coffee shop.
Yeah.
One of the best ones was, I forget, it was like the 5th interview. because so when we interviewed them, it was like in the front of the cafe, and then we tell them there's a restroom in the back if you want to go change.
We waited till we had the physical location, because if you're going to be interviewing gals in the bikinis, you don't want to be like, well, what, at my house, or like, so we had to wait till
studio?
Studio
apartment.
So like the 5th interview or something, Emmett at that point we got so comfortable where his girlfriend's not in the cafe anymore. But not that I'm not about to say a nasty story. It's just funny. So we do the normal interview, and then at the point he's like, okay, so you need to get in your bikini,
right? And
then she's like, I have it right underneath my shirt and pants. I'm just gonna dress right here. And we're like, okay, if you're comfortable with that. Right at that moment, the front glass, the entrance, there's a mom and a kid that walk by, and you know, the model is taking her shirt and pants off, but she's got the bikini.
Sure.
You should have seen. For me, I think Emmett.
We were literally sitting behind the table like a judging panel.
I forget. I think Emmett didn't get an angle to see the mom pop. I saw it in her face. She's like, and she like covered her kid's eyes and pulled the kid away. It was awesome.
She's like, that's why you gotta stay in school. Stay in school. Be in front of some two weird Asian guys. That's crazy, man. That's cool, and it's funny because it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. It's like, you know, you have these podcasts, you have these conversations. It's like people have cool ass conversations all the time, you know, and to be able to record it and give it out to the world, and have people be kind of a part of it, whether they're driving their car, walking their dog, whatever. It's a unique thing. It's a unique thing.
Pay attention to the road. Stop thinking about boobies.
Yeah.
I think something I want to add, and this is a tangent on all this. I think also if someone's listening to this and they think that maybe Emmett and I came from money, we didn't. This, like, for me, when I was younger, my mom was on the,
government cheese.
It wasn't government cheese, but like we got like, I got free food at school because her income was so low. Yeah. So there was like a code that I had where I go to the lunch aisle and then I say the code and they give me free food. So I didn't come out of money. Emmett didn't come out of money. So for us to get to the point, like I dislike when I listen to certain podcasts and you hear someone like, I came from nothing. Like, I will admit I didn't have family that beat the shit out of me. I didn't have family that terribly mentally beat the shit out of me. But I didn't have a lot of money. Like, I've heard there was I don't want to say who it was. There was a friend of a friend that they had a restaurant that they spent $400,000 from their parents' money. And then that friend of those restaurant owners, they said to me like, oh, we came from nothing. I'm like, no, no, fuck you.
Came from 400 grand.
Yeah, 400 grand. Like, so with our budget, the restaurant was, or our cafe was 38,000 if I remember correctly. So that's not, right, I mean, that's a lot of money. But that was between
for a business also.
Yes, for a business that's nothing.
That's shoestring for sure.
But then for us,
that was us scraping together all our money, and I think we had a couple of friends that threw in some money.
There's probably like 4 or 5 other people.
You guys got some good friends. None of my friends. My deadbeat friends were doing that back then. Jeez, step up, friends.
Emmett's good at convincing people. So I really do feel that our story is closer to that, coming from nothing. Now, when I say that I don't have family that beat me and whatnot, I did have a decent foundation to some degree. Like, I had food. Sure. I never had a day in my life where I worried about food. So that is something, when I hear some stories of kids coming from poverty that have to worry about having food tomorrow, that's something I didn't experience. So there is a privilege that I experienced there, but I feel like it's not, I think I was closer to the average than a rich person, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah. It does. I mean, there's different levels to everything, right? I mean, there's definitely levels to poverty and desperation. You know, one of my really good friends, I won't name her because I don't know if, she wants her story, but, as my wife and I got to know her and her husband, like, she was like, hey man, I'm trailer trash. That's what I was brought up. And to escape being trailer trash, I joined the military. That was my only way out. Yeah. So, she joined the military, she got an education, she learned about numbers, this and that. Fast forward now, she just bought 2 48 or 40 unit properties. So she has 80 apartment doors.
Killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So there are people out there that really come from like nothing, or very little and be able to climb up. And I'll play the counter to what you said earlier. You know, if you come from money, I mean, that's not a scarlet letter on you. I mean, do something good with it. You know, Jeff Bezos' parents gave him $250,000. You know, I'll give most of the people in the world $250,000. They'll burn it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so to be able to do something with it, I mean, that's no fault of your own. You know, either way, I mean, how you get there, I think regardless of how much of a head start you get, if you're truly successful, we'll talk monetary because it's easy to measure.
Billions.
Business and stuff like that. You've had to maneuver correctly, you know. Now, was everything morally? That's a totally different conversation. But you have to at least be intelligent enough, even conniving enough to maneuver properly.
I would criticize Bezos now for being a lame billionaire.
You mean he's a dork?
No, like if I had billions and billions and billions of dollars, like we're talking multi-billions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. Do something awesome. Like go fix our government. Go fix education. Go fix healthcare. Go fix something.
Yeah.
Like you live here, you enjoy all the things that we get here in the U.S. Give back. Like fix something.
I mean, I don't know.
Don't tell me $1 billion doesn't solve problems.
Yeah, I don't know what the philanthropy side of these guys are.
No,
I
they're just
can't speak
buying
on
more
that.
apartments in New York.
Yeah,
So that I would criticize Bezos for being lame.
I think government. We need to fix government. I mean, one person. I don't care
We
how.
can't.
How rich
It's
it is.
bought by the rich.
Yeah, it's bought by banks.
Yeah, congressmen don't listen to me.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
I can't afford the plate at the dinner, right?
So then, what's the answer then?
Yeah, billionaire. Fucking buy all the congressmen.
There's only 500 some billionaires in America, I believe, or in the world, I believe. So the question is, if they don't want to do something, how does the masses?
Oh, they
change
do
things?
want to do something. They want to rig all the rules so that they keep all their money, right?
Right.
So they don't pay any taxes and we do.
Right.
You know what really sucked? My girlfriend works at a casino here in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
They gave her a bonus, right? It was a very nice. The company, it's not common, but they were like, hey, we had a hell of a year. Here's a bonus for our employees. It got taxed at something like 40%. The bonus is supposed to be a nice, like, hey, you're a working person. You get a nice little bonus.
Yeah.
Here's the government. Oh, fuck you. We got 40% of that bonus for us too.
So here I'm going to play the evil capitalist. This is good because
Yeah.
there's no point in getting together and being in a bubble and agreeing with everything, right?
Right.
I agree the sentiment of what you're saying,
Yeah.
right? Because is it fair for, really wealthy people to seemingly get away with everything, right?
No.
No, it's not. And I agree with that.
Yes.
But then let's do nuances. Let's take Elon Musk, for example, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you want more fair taxation, but you're not one of those. And if you are, then you are. But you're not one of those eat the rich people.
No, but I would say Elon's different than Bezos.
Yeah, but
In
then
that he's doing awesome shit.
but you can't you can't cherry pick rules just because you like somebody or not, though.
Right. I would like all the rules to apply evenly.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
So let's just say on a personal level, Jeff Bezos, Musk, Trump, all these guys, they don't pay anything in taxes.
Yeah,
Right.
virtually zero.
Virtually zero in taxes, right?
Effectively zero.
Right. So let's take Amazon. I think last time I checked, and I could be wrong, someone fact checked me. I think Amazon employs about 4,500 people.
Correct.
That's a lot of W-2s,
Yeah, sure.
right? And then from a commerce and adding to the GDP, I can't even tell you how much that is, right? So in a world where you get rewarded, sometimes seemingly unfairly for what you have created, there has to be some type of initiative or incentive to be a 1%er. Because these 1%ers do create stuff. Because 4,000 employees, like I said, that's a lot of W-2s. That's a lot of employee taxes that the corporation still has to pay. There's no corporation that gets around paying employee taxes. So that's number one.
But
401k contribution.
But Amazon's not a jobs program.
What do you mean?
As in, it's not creating jobs. Those retail jobs were at other companies before Amazon.
Yeah, but then do you blame the auto industry for killing, blacksmiths business? I mean, businesses evolve, right?
They do evolve. I'm just saying it didn't create jobs. It actually destroyed jobs. We used to employ a lot more people at Montgomery Ward, Sears, Kmart.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. But then don't you think with innovation?
I'm just saying the jobs argument doesn't work if you're destroying jobs.
Well, they're destroying mom and pop jobs, I guess. Retail, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of independent contractors are making money on Amazon as well. That wouldn't have that wouldn't have the logistics and the e-commerce site
Sure.
and all that to build their own side hustle.
Yeah, I'm all for technological advancement and change. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you kind of have to adapt. I guess where I'm going with that is the rules may suck, but I think the best thing, and if this goes on YouTube, we're not giving advice, but the best thing is to think about, if these are the rules, whether you like it or not, how do I play in it? How do I take part in it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
What I would bitch about is that the rules are rigged from the top down. If you're rich, you can afford to bribe a congressman to write the laws to advantage you.
Of course.
And that's been happening for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
So that now the advantages are so far stacked, what it ends up doing is whittling away at the middle class's wealth. You know, it's as if while you slept, somebody stole $20 out of your room every night. You don't notice it, but it adds up, right?
When do you think government stopped caring? 50s, 60s, 70s, what?
Yeah, there's a corruption to it, right? Yeah. Politicians are typically corrupt.
Yeah.
At least during the Cold War, we had this boogeyman of the Soviet Union that we legitimately had to worry about.
Okay.
So, something like Reagan, he was a ultra Republican. He was wrong about a lot of things, and a lot of things passed under his administration that did not help the middle class or the poor. But he seemed like he legitimately cared about us, and he really thought we had to defeat this evil that could destroy the world.
There's a naivete with him, right? Like
a purity to his, his mission.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Whereas when you fast forward a couple GOP generations later, George W. Bush sent us to war. That under 100% false pretenses. And this is a guy that at the time believed in them.
Right.
You
And so even now, who's the evil Republican? There's a guy out in Kentucky or something that.
Well, the evil guy of the day, depending on what side you're on. If you're on the left side and you want the Build Back Better plan to pass, Manchin just shut it down. That's who you're talking about.
Mitch McConnell?
No, his last name is Manchin.
Yeah.
Joe Manchin.
So I don't follow politics, but I feel like there are politicians that aren't even pretending to be good guys anymore. They just literally cater to the rich.
Yeah, I think that and you're not doing this, I'm not talking about you, but I think the talking points on the left and right, they're all talking points, right? But the thing that I worry a lot about with the left is, that whole eat the rich mantra, tax, the rich don't pay taxes, all that stuff. There's a lot of nuances to it, like I said, and blanket statements like that. Number one, I think if you're doing it blanketly, it's false.
Well, why can't you be a billionaire and pay 40% taxes like I do?
But they also pay corporate tax. The corporation they create pay corporate tax. What is the incentive?
Corporate tax is 20%?
So 20% of a large ass number.
Can't the corporation pay the same tax I do?
But they also have to have incentives to grow and expand, right? So let's take away incentives. Why would I make $1 million and don't have incentives to make 10, or don't have incentives to make 100, or don't have incentives to make $1 billion?
You still got to keep most of it.
No. My point is, because with every jump, there's going to be a scalable risk, right? Yeah. So if there's no incentive to continue to expand, to continue to grow, and it comes down to money, right? So if there's no incentive to become a $3,800 billion company, then why? I like what Elon said a while ago, and I forgot what he said. He said, when you stop incentivizing people to make stuff, build stuff, and create stuff, stuff will stop being made. And unfortunately, if you stop giving special, for lack of a description, special treatment or incentives to these larger corporations, now can we trickle them a little bit? Sure. But if you're saying that someone that is genuinely contributing a mass amount to GDP, job creation, and everything else, get treated the same as Joe Schmo, I'm in disagreement with that.
I'm all for profit and motivation.
Sure.
When you're talking about large corporations, what you're really seeing is an entity that is designed to maximize money at all costs, stripped of any regard for anything else like morality, environmentalism, or people, or anything. It doesn't care about anything except making money. And so you elect a CEO that is there to maximize the profits of
To
the
the
company,
shareholders and everything.
right?
Sure.
So who elects the CEO is the board of directors. Who's the board of directors? It's the shareholders. Who are the shareholders? Rich people who ain't working. The majority of the shareholders are people who ain't working a job like me and you. So they pay lower capital gains tax on their income than we pay working our asses off in the sun. So
Yeah.
why can't it be a fair system where everybody pays an equal amount of taxes? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm with you if we do a flat tax versus a progressive tax.
I would love a flat tax.
I would love flat tax.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even for me, I don't know if I touched on the tax side of real estate, but for me, you know, for my LLC, my goal is to have, I don't want the IRS is listening.
You want to minimize your tax
Minimize my
exposure.
taxes, right?
Yeah.
You know,
That's
it's
smart.
like, yeah, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But so what you're doing then is transitioning from a wage earner to becoming a wealthy owner of appreciating assets,
Right.
which is great if you can do it, but we can't all do it, right? Most of us have to work.
I had to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is maybe you could have gotten there faster if you weren't paying so many damn taxes.
I don't think about that because here's the thing. The top earners statistically, and this is directly from the IRS,
Yeah.
pays 40% of the taxes. Top 1% pays 40% of the taxes.
Okay.
Now, you're talking about marginally, they probably pay less because of all their incentives, write-offs, deductions, and what have you.
Right.
But collectively, they pay 40% of what the IRS takes in the United States of America. Number
Yeah.
two, the bottom half of income earners don't even pay taxes. They get refunds because, especially now with the standard deduction, and I'm not a CPA, I just know what
Yeah.
the overall kind of general is. I think it was 12,000 at one point. Trump raised it to 26,000 as standard deduction.
Yeah.
You know, and then you throw in the child incentive and everything else. So that I think you and I are saying the same thing, but differently, meaning that it is an unfair system. But if we have to fix the system, we have to also be transparent, honest about what it is.
Yeah. I'm all for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the narrative on the left side of the rich don't pay taxes is wrong.
Okay.
Well, if they pay 40, if the IRS is saying the top, is it the top 1%?
Top 1%.
Top 1%?
Top 1% covers 40% of the tax bill in the United States.
The top, what's the statistics on the top 1%? Do they own 60% of the money and they only pay 40% of the tax?
But it's also creation of wealth too, right? Now obviously there are people that are generationally wealthy, but at some point someone had to create it, right? Like if my great grandkid is wealthy because of me, so at some point there had to be a Rick Phan, you know, for better or for worse, there had to be a Rockefeller at one point, right? I just don't want to get into. I do agree with you in them having the power to create laws. That is wrong. Super PACs, and I also agree, and maybe you guys will agree with this too. Is if you're a sitting politician, you are no longer you can't pick and choose and cherry pick what you're able to do. You can't claim to be an average day citizen, participate in average day citizen stuff, meaning that you can't go out and buy and dump stocks when you're the one writing the rules about things.
Sure, you
know what I
can.
mean?
You just lie to everybody.
Yeah. Yes, I saw somewhere some guy was like, I did an experiment for 2 years. I basically just followed Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, and I made it like a 200% return or something. Like
Nice.
that. Yeah, but I think we're saying very close to the same thing, maybe different perspective. But what we're saying is, yeah, that's a great question to dive into. Is like, you know, if they're paying 40% of the taxes, are they controlling how much of the wealth? You know, but it's like, do you punish somebody? And I know it's a horrible comparison because it's not livelihood, but you know, you bring things back to sports. Do you punish somebody for scoring too much? Is there such thing as scoring too much in a game if you already won the game?
Yeah, it's bad sportsmanship.
What is that though?
It's called piling on.
That's just a perspective though, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Because it's not a game that we're playing.
Right, but I'm just making like an analogy though. So I guess in your utopia world, is there a cap to how much someone can earn?
In my utopia world,
Yeah.
the morality is, as long as you're for the country, we the people, if you do something for the people, that means everyone benefits, including the government, then, I mean, this is a very utopian idea, then allow that person to make as much money as they want. But in essence, they also, their taxes is actually truly going to help the economy. So
Yeah.
that's my utopian thought. As long as the companies do everything morally, then let them do it. And the more moral that they are, the more the government should endorse them or help them, incentivize them.
Right.
But we don't live in that world. And I don't know how, I really don't know how we do that in our human.
Burn it down.
I think it goes back to what you're saying. It's like these guys shouldn't have that much influence.
I'm all for fair play. I would love it if the rules of the game were fair for all of us. My degree is in accounting. When I finished school in 2001, I was able to look around and see that I couldn't afford a house at 40 grand a year.
Right.
But there's also a historical perspective. If you look back over time, houses used to be a lot cheaper.
Sure.
Cars used to be a lot cheaper. People used to make more money. You know, it was
Relatively, yeah, right.
Relatively, yeah. So you have all these complicated forces like inflation. Inflation, where does that come from? Money printing, or does it come from all the laws that are written? We have corporations that are here to seek a profit. So what happens in the end? You can take the whole picture, right? And what we get in the end is something like the richest nation in all of human history, with all these lucky people that live here, right? And every other nation on earth, every other advanced nation on earth has figured out free healthcare for the citizens, paid for through their taxes.
Right.
We pay a ton of taxes. We don't really pay less taxes than all these socialist countries. We just pay it in different ways that are hidden and disguised.
Sure.
And now to get some medical care, we're supporting a profit-making hospital industry, a profit-making insurance industry in between, a profit-making pharmaceuticals industry, all who have incredible power to lobby. Lobby means bribery. Lobby is taking millions of dollars to Washington, D.C. And changing the rules so that you can make more profit, right? We pay that in our healthcare costs.
Yeah.
So in every little way, we're getting robbed at every turn.
Oh, yeah.
So those little bites, we accept it because we grew up in it, and we don't notice that these piranha bites are eating the flesh off of our bodies.
Right.
And until you're at a point where a hardworking person isn't getting a fair share at some point, right?
Right.
So it's hard when you bring up the specific points against. But in the whole picture, we can see that things are not getting better for the hardworking people.
I think those piranha bites are repainted through some type of patriotic view, like whether it be, this would be a bad example, like
Well, you find ways to blame the poor, right? They're sucking us down.
Yeah.
Right.
And joining the military, tax money goes into that, but joining the military is a patriotic thing to do, which it is, but it's a weird thing when the tax money gets stolen, and
so it gets complicated. There's things I would argue against specifically.
Sure.
Why is lobbying legal?
I agree, 100%.
Right.
I agree with you.
So why does campaign money matter?
Why are super PACs even allowed?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
why does it cost $2 billion to become president of the United States?
right.
No, I agree with you.
If you want to be a politician, it should be a public service position. Why do rich people fight and spend money to get into a public service position? There's something obviously wrong there.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the things that I would, if we could fix those things.
Yeah.
Then we'd have a much better place.
You and I have found common ground on that.
Yeah.
And I think what I was trying to horribly articulate was the easy escape is tax the rich. I really truly believe that, because it's not a matter of do we have enough tax revenue. It's shitty spending.
Yes, I agree.
Government is shitty spending, right? From every level, from the top down. And the crazy thing about government, unlike when, I told my story, when I ran out of credit limit, ran out of ability to get a loan and this and that, I had to stop and face the music.
Yeah.
What does the government do when they run out of money? They do two things. They print more money, and they raise the debt ceiling. It's like me capping out my credit card and say, hey, I know I maxed out, but give me another $10,000.
Raise the limit, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, well, you haven't made a payment in like 2 years. But yeah, give me another $10,000 anyway.
Yeah.
It's the same principle. So I think when it comes to that type of conversation, there's a lot of nuances. Number one. Number two is I think we all have to be honest about it too, of what it really comes down to. And I think it does come down to the horrible management of it.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I've always said the U.S. government has the right, a legal right, to audit us. Why in the F are we not allowed to audit them?
There's the government accounting office that's supposed to be doing that. GAO.
Yeah.
GAO, where you at?
Yeah. Well, who's paying their salaries? We are. But anyway.
I think during the 2008 crash, I don't remember the name. There was the head of like Treasury.
Greenspan?
Was it? No.
Bernanke?
I think it was a female. They were asking her, well, if you're
Janet Yellen?
you're in charge, was it Janet? You're in charge of auditing the numbers in the Federal Reserve. I'm probably ruining this whole story, but
It's all rigged.
Go with it.
her response is like, well, there's so much numbers here, we can't really audit it that well. And they're like, but you are the head of auditing those numbers. How can our nation trust your analysis? And you're saying you don't even have the resources to actually audit that.
Yeah.
It was just jaw-droppingly fucked up that they can't even manage their own funds and understand where money is going. And
Incompetence.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. It's like, if nothing else, COVID, well, to people that aren't, I don't want to disparage anybody. I almost said sheep. I don't want to
Poor
disparage
people.
anybody. No. To people that have been kind of, brainwashed due to isolation, fear, all that stuff that's happened with COVID. If you can't recognize that the government is at its best incompetent, at its worst, there's a lot of fuckery that goes on everything. And I actually think it's the latter, unfortunately, right? But either way, at its best, they're just incompetent. They're just dumb, and they just happen to get elected. But even if that's the best case scenario, it's like, holy shit, we got to fix them, this thing.
Yeah.
But I think then, I guess in a long-winded way, to answer your question, how do we fix it? I think you also have to work on the individual too. Me personally, I don't depend on government to save me or break me down or whatever. We'll roll with it. Whatever changes come out. I mean, there's a lot of talks about different tax laws that are coming out that's definitely going to affect my business for the worse.
Yeah.
But you figure it out. And you go from there. I think it's how to get somebody from desperation, basically on the verge of their own internal collapse to move into a more positive direction. That's probably the bigger focus, honestly.
when I was like, I'm going to connect the story to that. When I was probably about 24, I was kind of looking at a little bit of housing prices and that I was using credit cards too much, but I was using credit cards too much because my salary wasn't going up. But then car prices, it's just like everything was getting more expensive. And I was just like, how do I live in this world? And
also, you had 2 cars.
What? Now
one of them was a race car.
Yeah, I remember the race car story.
That was 29.
I'm just
I was
fucking with you.
28. Wait, 27? I was 27 then. But that's later in life. That's me fucking up even more later.
Hey man, 2.3 financing. Anyway,
So
sorry.
when I was like 24 and kind of looking at the situation, the rat race and how the government taxes and stuff, I was just like, how the fuck do I get through this? For me, I don't know if this works for everybody else, but I guess this is my long story for advice for people. Ultimately, keep your eyes open, but I'll explain my story. So when I was 14 years old, I was playing around with websites. I was learning HTML on my own time. I was playing on the internet a lot. And if at some point later in life, Emmett said to me, like, man, it's too bad you didn't go live in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. And then I almost said Silicon Valley. And then
No, not that you could have known, but that if you had been there,
the opportunities would have been so drastically different.
yeah, I think in those days, the early days of the internet, that really was the mecca. And
Oh, yeah.
Because Liem was obviously a smart dude working on the internet very early, but he was just in San Diego and there wasn't other people around and startup companies and all this environment that could have provided opportunities for him.
Yep, that was like 1994, 1998.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what was I, 14, 16 years old. And so later on, as I got older, went to college, got a job, and then the whole thought of money is like, man, everything's so expensive. How are people living these nice lives in San Diego? Like, I'm barely making a buy, and I'm in IT. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? My salary wasn't that great, but then something, I guess it dawned on, or to me, it's like, I missed that internet era, that .com boom where I could hopefully, if I was in Silicon Valley, maybe I could have made something, but I missed that. That's fine. So I told myself, keep your eyes open. And
Good for you.
I was, and one opportunity, 2002, where I created suggestionfinder.com, which ended up Yelp came out and Yelp was bigger. I created a website that did the same. I was ahead of Yelp. I created a website. You could do restaurant reviews. I even had unique coupons people could create. And then I was so early that when I pitched my ideas to companies, I forget if I told this story on
my show where we were talking about.
Oh, okay. So I'll skip that.
No. Go ahead. Because not everyone wants the same thing, but no.
So I'll make it short then. I was pitching that idea to restaurants like, hey, come sign on to my website. It's free advertising for your company. In 2002, keep in mind, 2002, these companies are like, no, you're a scam, man. We don't want to sign up to your website.
Right.
And then just 2 years later, Yelp comes out and they're a multi-million-dollar company. So I was just 2 years ahead and didn't know how to market it well and whatnot. But so I missed that too. Then I kept on saying, just keep your eyes out. Just keep your eyes out. That moment's going to happen. Unfortunately, I think Facebook, Uber, and I missed out on that. I wish I was smart enough to put money into their stock, because being in IT, I think I would have been ahead of the what's the word? Like just everyone buying, I would have known ahead of time.
Yeah, ahead of the curve. Yeah.
Yeah. And I missed out on that too. And I kept on saying, just keep your eyes out. And then 2016, a friend said, hey, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Actually, I mean, 2008 was the end of 2008 when the white paper of Bitcoin first came out.
Right.
A friend said, what do you think? And I failed on that too.
Right.
I failed and I was like, oh, I think that's a fad. That doesn't make sense how it would work out. 2017, a different friend said, hey, what do you think about Ethereum? I'm like, what's that? The cryptocurrency? And he's like, yeah. And I was like Bitcoin? I'm like, I think I already passed on that. He's like, well, just take a look at Ethereum. And by chance I went home. It wasn't because, well, I looked at Ethereum, then I would try to go to the base of what blockchain is. I looked at the consensus mechanism, and that's where the light bulb went off. I was like, this is that moment. I need to go in on this.
Yeah.
And luckily I put a small amount then into Ethereum, and it's
Sure.
that was the moment. So
It's done well since then.
it's done very well.
All right.
So
It's okay.
my suggestion for people listening, whether you're in IT, I think other businesses might be, I want to
Liem is not a financial advisor. He does not dispense financial advice on the internet.
I want other businesses might be tougher. Like if they love dogs and they know a dog grooming business that's about to open up and they think it's, but maybe they know that enough and maybe they can make an educated choice. Keep your eyes open and make educated choices and learn on the way. That's my suggestion.
No, I love that. Do you have anything to add before my stupid mouth starts
I think we
moving?
started off with 80% of businesses fail. So be prepared to lose 80% of the time.
Yeah.
But if you do the investments right, if you could even just throw in like $1,000, like if you're able to muster up losing $1,000, but that $1,000 could turn out to be a very substantial amount later.
And for the record, we paid back everybody that invested in our failed coffee shop.
Yeah.
So our coffee shop went under, and the people who had put money up were like, well, it was a startup investment and we lost. But after, recovering and getting a job and stuff, we paid back everybody that.
Just because that was for your own morality, just your own feel good.
Yeah,
No, that's
exactly,
awesome. I mean, that says a lot about you guys. A lot of people just run.
Sorry, we lost.
I joke about being an evil capitalist, but the reality is I live morally.
You're a softie.
I am a softie. I have to try. Remind me to tell you guys what I do every now and then in terms of crying. But anyway, it's a weird story. I'll tell you YouTube too, because it's about being transparent. I want to piggyback off of that a little bit, Liem, and say this. I don't know. This shouldn't be controversial, but the idea of following your dreams, that's for most people. I want to say for 95%, 98% of the people out there, go out there and shoot for your dreams, is bullshit advice. Okay? It's bullshit advice. And I'll explain why. Because just like anything, there's levels to everything. You want to be a great singer? Cool. Top 1% of people probably make it, right? Nowadays, it's a little bit better because you can self-produce, you can be YouTube, you can be whatever. But if my dream was to play in the NBA and I followed my dream, I would be destitute, right? It's just not going to work. Right? I'm not Jeremy Lin.
You're like a foot and a half too short.
That and I suck. I was just playing with my buddies over the weekend. They're like, "Oh, dude, let's forget basketball. Let's just play horse. Let's just keep this thing basic."
Hey, Rick,
right?
the ball goes into the hoop. You want to throw it into the hoop,
man. So let me explain. Not following your dreams doesn't mean you cannot live your dreams. Okay, I suggest, and I think I said this when I talked to you guys, is that I don't need to know what people want to do with their life or what their calling is, but without even knowing it, I can guarantee it requires some type of financial independence, right? If not complete independence.
right?
So my hope and my non-advice, because this is YouTube, is that whatever your dream
Don't do this.
right? Whatever your dream is, find the financial vehicle that will free you up so that you can do your dreams. If you wanted to be a dancer, you want to be a performer, you want to do all that stuff, you want to sing, cook, bake, all that, you will enjoy the process even more when there's no monetary need behind it. You know, so
is that the same as don't quit your day job?
yeah, it's basically a fancy way of saying don't quit your day job. But more importantly, take your day job to find something that's going to fund your dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the day job is to pay the bills, and the day job is, it's not for nice cars. The day job is to pay your bills, live your life, and start pulling things together, start investing, start studying. The biggest investment, people ask me all the time, and it sounds so corny. Rick, I got, they come to me, they go, I got $5,000, I got $1,000, I got $5,000, $10,000.
Yeah.
I want to invest. What should I invest in? And I go, yourself. And they go, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah.
I want to see money come back. I go, you're not going to have any long-term money unless you change your mind, unless you change your education, unless you put your time into being around the people that's going to change who you are. Because you do have to change who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So going back to what I was saying, it's like, you know, don't give up on your dreams, but don't follow it solely. You want to do something, fall in love with it. Find the monetary vehicle that's going to support it and live the kind of life you want to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I would agree with that. I would see that as, so I went to San Diego State, a very affordable education, especially at that time. Got a degree in accounting because I thought a business degree is the only thing that makes sense, right? Because I have to pay bills.
Sure.
I thought when I turned 18, my job is to figure out how to become an adult, pay bills, right? So that's kind of where my head was at. And I did that, and so I came out of college, got an accounting job. I hated it. For 3 years, I'm sitting in a cubicle working on spreadsheets, and I was always thinking about how do I get out of this, right? But that was the best foundation because A, it's about money, so I understand money very easily.
Right.
But B, it's a great foundation for whatever you do in business because money's a big part of it. And so I tried to transition out of it. I went to mortgage loans. So doing mortgages back in like 05, 06. To me, that was customer facing, right? So I took a baby step towards not my dreams, but something I liked more.
Yeah.
Right. So doing stuff like the coffee shop, we were able to go all in because we don't have kids.
Right.
You know, if you got kids to feed, it's hard.
Different, sure.
Yeah. So we chased our dreams, but we knew we had the dice to roll. Right. So you like you say, you can't just go want to be a singer if you can't support yourself.
Right.
So I think as long as you've got a plan and you've got everything figured out in your life,
Yeah.
then do your hobbies and do the things you love to do.
Right.
And then maybe it'll pan out.
Yeah, and I think it motivates you too because, you know, like I said, shiny car, all that stuff is fine. It's fun. It's all that. But if you know that you can, here's my boring financial freedom millionaire life, right? When I get to 40 doors, 40 rentals, this is going to be my life until I change it.
Yeah.
My life would be waking up super early. I say 4:30 a.m. before the sun comes up.
This is your fantasy?
Hold on, let me finish.
Oh, okay.
Just because I want to prove to myself that I got the grit to do it. Go to do some type of physical training, whether it's weights, boxing, whatever. Like get a good sweat going.
Fitness
is number one. Go home, shower up, have my breakfast, and take a 3-hour nap. While everyone else is working, mid-morning.
Yeah.
I love naps. I love naps where I love sleep.
Yeah.
So I'll take a nap on the couch.
Okay.
I'll wake up, probably grab some lunch, and then from there, go do some type of hobby.
Yeah.
and then come home and spend time with my family. And that hobby and that day can change. But the point of what I was drawing out is there shouldn't be, or very few, I should say, moments during the day when I'm doing something that is not by choice.
So this is the idea that rental income is taking care of all your needs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the day you would choose.
Yeah, my day would be that. Now, obviously, my wife can interject and I'd be blown. But she's the boss. But no, it's like everyone fantasizes the yachts, the cars, the big houses, the parties, and this, that. And it's like, dude, it's like that freedom. You know what I mean? That freedom to be a little bit frivolous.
Dude, I'm a step ahead of you. I skip straight to the nap by not waking up.
Napping is the best for me. Is the best form of sleep.
I wake up at 4:30 a.m. I go pee and then I go back to nap.
Yeah, go pee back to nap. I guess I'd be considered a nap. Huh? What about you, Liem? Well, what's kind of like a picture perfect day for you?
Man, someone jokingly, I think I was chatting with some friends online, and we were playing a lot of video games. It was a Discord chat room, and one of them said, what is wrong with today where every hobby has to make money? And I was like, I was thinking to myself, I don't think that's so bad. If you could do a hobby and make money. So right now this podcast is kind of my hobby, and I theorize when I get older, I will hopefully still enjoy this. So if this can make money, and sustain me, and or there's crypto investments and other investments that could sustain me too. So one of the two, hopefully one of the two could sustain me.
Or do people need money making hobbies because the squeeze is so hard that a regular person can't get by on the regular job?
There's a lot of truth to that.
There's some truth to that.
That's something that I think everyone has to keep in mind, as in, I guess when I say the word sustain is including the government printing money, inflating the value, and therefore depreciating our bank accounts.
Yeah.
I think it's
like if everybody had easy jobs that paid really well, you wouldn't have as much interest in side hustles and money making hobbies and investment. People wouldn't be worried about that too much. They'd be happy to just eat their hamburger helper.
And that's that's a utopia way, of painting a society, which feels good, sounds great.
Yeah, and I think that on that, there's.
Sorry, I'm not trying to bring it back to politics.
No. I forget if it was Norway or Sweden. There's a lot of so where their healthcare system is a lot easier. Even the penal system, where if you do some crime, you don't go to a hardcore jail. But even then, some of the
it's a rehabilitative system, not penal.
Yeah. There you go.
Not punitive.
There's a lot of like IT technologies coming out from there. Supposedly, I say supposedly because I've watched some short documentaries, and maybe they're painting the rosy picture, but it looks like there's some really good new technology coming out of there. So I am assuming that statement. I guess I kind of think that might not be true. I don't know if that, because I have a bias. I hope that in a utopian world where the government is able to take care of their fucking finances, and then healthcare is at least reasonably taken care of.
Yeah.
And jobs make sense where you could actually go to work, make a livable wage, and not have to worry that your dollar is going to depreciate over the years. But I think it was Sweden where they seem to be still innovating over there, I think. So are they, do they have an Elon Musk? I don't know if that's more of a world macroeconomics reason that they don't have an Elon Musk. So anyways, I think they're still doing stuff. So
there is a wildness to the U.S. that I think creates the good and bad.
100%. You beat me to it. That was my comment, is that you want, you want the good guys, you want this great country, this great opportunity. And unfortunately, you go down history, it was created through blood, and it's just the reality of it. Any great society, any great empire, any great whatever, it is created through blood. It's created through conquering, it's created through colonization. We don't have to go down politics, because I also don't want, to talk about, trying to punish and penalize people now because of their skin color, just because their ancestors were colonizers. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But my point to that is I think the wildness that you're talking about is what does make us uniquely great, both on the side of the spectrum. When it's corrupt, it's probably one of the worst in the world. But at our best, we are, at least ideally, the beacon for hope, free enterprise, and success.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask, I don't know much about Sweden and Norway's politics and their government regulations or what have you, but everyone always points to them as far as how the government is creating, this utopia for people. People don't stress, they live a calm life, this and that. Well, I mean, I know their corporate tax rates are super high. Their personal tax rate is super high, but it is what it is. If they're getting what they're paying for, all power to them. I also asked then, how come people aren't moving there more?
I mean, you're not allowed to, for one.
That's the wildness that you're talking about. You got to take the good with the bad too.
Yeah.
Wait, what's
Right?
that?
You can't flood the borders of those Northern European nations.
Strange how that works out, huh?
Yeah, I mean, so I think of it as a boat where if everybody's paying taxes and you're rowing in the boat, so you can't have too many people jump in all at once. You're going to sink the boat, right? So there is a little bit of that. I'm happier if everybody in the boat is rowing and helping along, right? You don't want anybody in the boat not pulling their weight. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from Northern Europe, from those countries.
And then there's also human nature too, right? Because son of a gun, is it Singapore? I think it's Singapore. I met a kid from Singapore and he came here. He said, Singapore, as far as their naturalized citizens, they're probably some of the, the wealthiest concentration, biggest concentration of wealth. Everyone lives above, the poverty line. 90% live above the poverty line, all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's the mecca for commerce in Southeast Asia. It's this and that. But
Or is it a banking tax haven?
that too.
Okay.
That's why.
All right.
But what he was telling me is but you also have to conform because it's a strong society based on conform, groupthink, and you don't have that freedom to kind of be a free thinker and have opinions and what have you. I mean, this is the society where you can't chew gum on the sidewalk, right? Because they want to keep it pristine.
Right.
This is also, public punishment and corporal punishment and stuff like that. And he told me something that's very unique. And their way they have it conform is there is no individualization. You're one unity. So here's a perfect example. Let's say in America, right? You get affluent, you make money, you move to a better neighborhood. You can say what you say about skin color, all that stuff, but people, when they get better, they want to move to a better neighborhood.
Yeah, nobody wants to live in a shitty neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's how Singapore sets up their population. Let's say, what area is this?
We're in the Southwest.
Southwest. So let's say Southwest right now.
We're in an okay neighborhood in Vegas.
So Southwest, right? Let's just say they took,
love the Southwest.
they took a look at Las Vegas and they say it's made up of 50% whites, 20% blacks, 10% Asian, et cetera, et cetera.
This is a hypothetical?
No, this is real.
In the past?
No. I'm talking about in Singapore. This is how they look at it.
Okay,
So
okay,
whatever
sorry.
their national population breakdown is, each grid, each section of their cities represent the same.
Yeah.
So what they prevented is they prevented, that's a black neighborhood.
Right.
That's an Asian neighborhood. That's a Vietnamese neighborhood. That's a white neighborhood. There's only one neighborhood. There's only one country. There's only one nation. That's the Singaporean, and I think it's still monarch, I believe, but I think it's more for symbolism.
Yeah.
But my point to that is, so you get this utopian society, but then you also lose the cool thing that comes with being a little bit of a cowboy, like you said.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Singapore's a different case because they're literally the size of a city.
Right.
It's a city-sized nation. But yeah, I would agree with you. I'm this close to writing a book about everything I think is fucked up in the U.S.
It's a
I'm
big
this
book.
close. Yeah,
It's a
so
big book.
I'll go write a manifesto. I don't know if it'd be worth doing at all. But the crazy thing is, I'm bitching while sitting in this awesome, beautiful house with a fucking Ford Raptor out front.
Yeah.
Like a super truck that anybody would, you can't drive a Raptor in Europe. The gas costs a lot more.
Yeah.
It won't fit on the streets.
Right,
Everybody's driving a used hatchback.
Or biking everywhere. Yeah.
Bicycling around, right? So I have so much to be thankful and grateful for I guess what I'm bitching about is systematically, right? I want the system to be fair. It's not. I'm not bitching about me. I think I'm very lucky and did very well.
Sure.
So I'm bitching about a fair playing field. I think is where I would go with that.
I think going back to what we said earlier is somehow we got to stop the funneling of influence, via cash from powerful donors.
Yeah, but I think you make a great point about the greatness of America. Something like SpaceX. That company is changing freaking rockets, right? Changing space. The space game was fucked up in the U.S. The U.S. is the only country that was rich enough and powerful enough to have this strong of a space program, and that turned into a defense contractor game to suck money out of the U.S. government to be incompetent and not produce ways to get to space.
Well, the exploration was non-existent.
Yeah, space shuttle went under. It was too expensive, and then they couldn't come up with anything to replace it. We were flying on Russian rockets. Even the rockets the U.S. has are using Russian rocket engines. So just insanity of all these billions of dollars being inappropriately spent, as you say. And then SpaceX comes along and changes the game by becoming a productive, efficient, useful company that can fucking launch things into space.
Private also.
Because it's a private sector.
At a reasonable cost, right? The downside of that is anybody that works at SpaceX will tell you that it sucks to work there. Like you're either on board for giving your life over to getting the mission to Mars, or you're fired.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not the utopia.
No.
But it is amazing.
But it's also, I don't want to be harsh, but if you don't like to work at SpaceX, there's no legal binding law that says you have to.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Now, if you're saying I'm stuck because damn, I make a great salary, I just hate my job.
Yeah.
Then that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But there's no entity in existence that is forcing you to work there.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird paradigm or whatever. So SpaceX doing something amazing, and yet the employees may not be super happy. And then you got Amazon, where Amazon seems to be doing everything to the letter of the law, but not to the spirit of the law. And the employees hate the fucking shit out of Jeff Bezos.
I've heard many stories.
Yeah, so it's an interesting paradigm. You got SpaceX and Amazon, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
I think what's happening at Amazon is people look at Jeff Bezos and go, "Man, this guy's got billions of dollars. He could afford to pay us more." Is really what they're thinking.
Sure.
When you look at Elon Musk, you go, "He's got billions of dollars. He's saving it to try to get us to Mars."
Right.
He's not buying up apartments in New York and.
Yeah, I think the difference is you're seeing when you have unlimited money, you're going through a midlife crisis versus someone that is literally trying to change the trajectory of mankind.
Yeah.
It's like the penis-shaped rocket, the new girlfriend, all this stuff. But God bless them. I always say, man, if you want to be frivolous, you want to live your life as an a-hole, you want to live your life as a Bond villain, and you've made the financial moves to get you there, then God bless you.
He's not even entertaining, though. He could be more entertaining.
You know what? The thing is, we spent the last 20 minutes talking about Jeff Bezos. He doesn't even know the hell we are. And then like Amazon has been at my door like every day for
keep buying.
season. Yeah.
Hours too.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? Yeah. But anyway, going back to you guys, man, I enjoy this format, and I do love the fact that and that's another thing that I want us to do more of. Not us, but just as a society is, let's get back to, hey, I don't want to agree with you on this point, or counter what my thoughts are, because you're opening my mind to something else, and then after this, we're gonna go have dinner. You know what I mean? It's like, we got to break away from that whole tribal thing that I think we touched on when I was here. I think we can start there. Let's start there. And then I think help people get financially educated, and then what they do with education is on them. You know what I mean? So, anyway, what's your hope for the future, my friend? Besides doom and gloom and death and the implosion of mankind.
Yeah. Maybe it's a Steven Pinker view that as much as I want things to be perfect or great, it looks like over time things seem to get a little bit better in general. Would you prefer to live in any time in the past? Right. If I could live in 1950s America, would I rather be there? Would I rather be in 1970s America? Would I rather be in a different country? I feel maybe I'm lucky to be exactly where I am. And if the future keeps getting better, I wish I could have been in the future instead.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed out on the 70s.
Which one is the free sex and love? Is that 60s?
60s, 70s, muscle cars, gas was cheap,
Yeah.
houses were affordable, jobs paid well. Maybe it was only if you're white, though.
For a long time, sure. I think so. I think so. I wonder if that's still the case. I mean, my life experience is different. You know, than
Maybe a
most.
half Vietnamese guy wouldn't have done well in the 70s.
I always tell people, man, if Bruce Lee can marry a white chick in the 60s, 70s, us Asian people can do anything. You know what I mean?
Well, he had to have the power to kick anybody in the face, though.
Yeah. People forget, man. Bruce Lee was like 5'5" and 135 pounds. It's not like he was this big stature guy. He just has the presence and the confidence too.
Yeah.
You know,
Intensity.
Yeah. So about you, Lynn, what's your hope for the future? What are your thoughts on the future?
I'm gonna walk you down the sci-fi road here.
I like it. We're gonna talk about the metaverse.
Between YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and then let's start with podcasting.
It's all podcasting, man.
I hope from podcasting. I heard this from Sager and Jetty from Breaking Points. He's a YouTube news center left person, and he co-hosts with the center right Crystal Ball. But he mentions he sees as CNN is starting to collapse, and podcasting might start to take over that arena. So there might be not just one Joe Rogan. It's probably going to spread out to small Joe Rogans throughout. So every city is going to have their own Joe Rogan or multiple Joe Rogans. So these podcasting things are going to grow. And that may be the political movement, as in these podcasts can go politically and or just socially for entertainment. But that could change the future of politics because we saw how Trump got into politics from being on TV. So podcasting may kind of go that route where
He got into it by bashing Obama on Twitter, being anti-Obama.
I would also say CNN, MSNBC had to do with him getting elected more than they would care to admit.
Because he was great content. He was entertaining.
And it was 24/7 for however long it lasted.
Yeah, whatever stupid shit he was saying was highly entertaining.
So hopefully in a sci-fi future, this podcasting platform with these long formats will get someone like an Andrew Yang into office. If you get satellite podcasts, Joe Rogan's everywhere, and then Andrew Yang could get in, and then we probably need 3 or 4 Andrew Yangs, meaning Andrew Yang does two terms, and we need someone like Andrew Yang to back to fix this country.
No, there's always a backlash against whatever you just had.
Yeah, but hopefully right now with TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, how it looks so bad, I'm hopeful. I cringe at how possibly wrong I can be, or maybe probably will be.
Yeah,
that will show the bad qualities in humans, and we will start to realize it. So this is a reflection. These are mirrors on us. We as a nation and as the globe, hopefully we start seeing that mirror as a mirror and not blaming Facebook. We shouldn't be blaming Facebook or Twitter. This is us. This is our problem. We need to fix it. But in that light, with podcasting, Facebook, Twitter, Andrew Yang, all that, we hopefully find a way for people to become more empathetic, more open, and smarter too. Yeah. As they listen to more podcasts, they hear these conversations, they get smarter. So I don't know, is that a 20, 30? That's a 30-year game plan.
You got a way better answer than I did.
But I could be completely wrong. I think most people probably watching this are gonna be like, that guy's a fucking idiot.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's why I want to participate in it as well too. You know what I mean? I mean, look, if Andrew Yang never had the Joe Rogan podcast and was never on Joe Rogan podcast, I would have fallen to the trap of believing, oh, here's another socialist that wants to just give my money away from everybody, you know? Prior to him having the platform like Joe Rogan, he was on Ed Milet, and Ed Milet took him to task, and he did great. I had never been a big time, because I'm from the experience of assistance, government platforms, government assistance temporarily. I'm not a big fan of sucking on the teat forever, because in my personal experience and belief, it dulls the incentive to go out and be your best or strive for something, right? But having him in long platform format, discussing and breaking down and saying how we will pay for it, how it does affect other people, and what an extra $1,000 really, how it can change most of, not our lives, but for a majority of Americans, that it can make or break them. You know what I mean? And that all comes back to because of a podcast, you know? Tulsi Gabbard, who's another by the way, these two that I just named, I will 100%, you know, really, really contemplating voting for them if they were on a ticket together. I'm tired of great grandparents running our country.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
No,
Yeah.
we need some young blood, man. But
Yeah.
if I fell into the trap of just seeing her labeled as, you know, the Democratic Party, even though she's a veteran, she was anti, you know, military because she was kind of on the side of Assad, talking how we shouldn't have gone in there and intervened, stuff like that, because those are just talking points. But when she sits on a long platform format and she talks, she breaks down, and you get to see, oh, this is how they truly think, this is how they truly feel, then you get to know the person, which is so important, right?
Yeah.
Look at the bullshit debates. I mean, we are picking not just a president for the country, we're picking for the leader of the free world. And the debates is bullshit.
It's entertainment.
It's not even entertainment anymore. It used to be entertainment, but yeah, you're right. It's just, okay, you get 2 seconds to answer this, and then you get one minute to, no, sit your ass down. We'll run this thing until we're done, you know, and then let the American people decide, because if they're done with it, they'll log off and we'll know,
Yeah.
you know, but as long as there's 100 million views, guess what? People really want to know what you're thinking, what your plan is. And I think, Liem, I'm bullish on that as well too. Is platforms like this will allow, you know, people to really show who they are, because you can't lie in platforms like this that long.
Yeah.
You know,
I think,
I don't know. I've been trying to convince everybody I'm not a pervert for like an hour now.
and then
I'll delete that out.
and then add on blockchain. I know I always bring up blockchain, but that's another factor of a global consensus too. So that's a global thing, not just a national thing. So if that can have a consensus of truth for people to share ideas,
Elections.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but elections should go on there. Property rights, taxation, visibility of taxation, where money goes, that can be on the blockchain.
Yeah. The biggest fear for any controlling power is transparency.
Yes. Yep.
And if we can force that, then we'll keep them honest.
For the people.
For the people. So I don't think these conversations happen enough, you know, between friends, family, especially right now. Right now, it's like if you touch politics and you don't agree, then you're like shunned. And if you do agree, you're not learning anything because you're just in your bubble, right or left.
So people just pick a side and hate each other?
They pick a side, hate each other, or they pick a team and they just run with it and thinking that's the only voice they need to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're right. I mean, you sit down, you think about it, it's like, it's weird. And then these people that are fighting for one side or another, it's like you're basically fighting for the same, you know, the same entity, just two different heads.
Just different flavor of crook.
Yeah. But I do for the first time, I really am drawn to Andrew, not because he's Asian. I have a lot of people that wanted to vote for him because of that. I think that's dumb.
That's the wrong reason. Yeah.
That's 100% the wrong reason.
That's like wanting to vote for Hillary because she was a woman.
Yeah. But what a lot of people did.
Right.
I heard what Kanye said about Kamala the other day. It was pretty funny. He said they did the right thing in the black community by bringing her on. They got so many women to come out, women of color come out and vote. You would think Drake was on the ticket. That's pretty funny, pretty clever.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like this whole going to your base thing is bullshit. It's like, hey man, let's critique and let's endorse people based on, you know, what they're able to do. So anyway, but that's good, man. We'll wrap up and
hope for the future is here.
Hope for the future is here. I'm always, at the end of the day, I'm always a positive guy. Let me ask you guys this before I let you guys go, because I want to share this funny story for myself.
Of you crying?
Yeah. How do you guys relieve stress? Because we all deal with it, right?
Masturbation.
Okay, that's honest. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, well, I mean that helps. But go ahead. You see how fast I jumped out there? Oh yeah, that works.
Stress. I try to avoid it, and lately we just had a conversation. I think last night. Even the idea of buying a home for me for many years is just, I think about, okay, if I take on a mortgage, then I got to worry about, say, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. do I feel secure enough in my salary that I'm going to pull that down? And then when I think about the IT career, a lot of IT jobs is not meant to be, but that happens to be the culture that you stay for 2 or 3 years and you can move on. That aspect feels unstable to me. That buying a house sounds enormously stressful. So it wasn't, when I brought up the term stress, it wasn't that I don't care about fixing the house. It's that signing that contract for 20, 30 years on a house, on a mortgage. And then you're basically saying, I'm going to have some type of job for the next 20 or 30 years, or I'm going to have the funds. And that just, to me, there's a stress factor there. So unfortunately for me, I say unfortunately because everybody wished they would have bought a house earlier.
Sure.
I haven't bought a house yet. So the way I try to avoid stress before it becomes actual stress.
Interesting.
For good or for better or worse. Hopefully with my finances now, when I'm looking to buy a house, hopefully I'm in a position where when I do buy a house soon, I hope it's real soon, that the stress factor is way lower because I got so much more money available. Now, we could argue, was it stupid to wait so long, blah, blah, blah. But for me, stress is something I try to avoid because I don't like my blood pressure being high, or I don't like the feeling of it.
Yeah. How about you? Dealing with stress?
Yeah, I'm not a typical stress monkey, but when you put it in those terms, I probably avoid stress too. It's a large part of why I don't have kids. I mean, to me, kids seem like unlimited, endless stress.
Sure.
And it's weird. I don't hate children. I don't have that lovey-dovey, like that burning desire in me to have a kid. Right. So looking at it dispassionately, like, man, you'd be insane to sign up for that deal.
Interesting. So both of you guys, whether it's conscious or unconscious, you kind of steer away from stress if possible.
With reason. So say I'm about to take on a project, whether it be setting up a cryptocurrency miner or taking on a new project at work. My manager knows at work that they start piling on some ideas, or they say, hey, we got this list of items. I look at it. In my head, I'm like, I think I could do that item in 3 days. I'm going to tell them 7 days. That other item that I could do in 1 day, I'm going to tell them 4. So out of that whole list, say it comes out to be 4 weeks worth, but I might be able to finish it in 2 or 3 weeks. So that's the way so if I'm going to take on stress, it's a very calculated
and controlled. Yeah.
Hopefully controllable.
Yeah. Controllable. I mean, technology has come along so fast. We forget that it wasn't that long ago. We were living in cave straw huts and, all that stuff. The humans haven't evolved at the speed as technology. We forget.
Right.
So our hardwiring is to problem solve, is to look out for danger, is to be on high alert, is to, just be in the wild and survive.
Yeah.
And I think when things get too easy, all that energy that's hardwired in us has nowhere to go. And it really confuses our brain, confuses our body chemistry and everything else. And we're going to get a shitload of a little comment saying you guys are dumb, or at least Rick is dumb. He knows what he's talking about.
No, I agree with all that.
I think that's...
But I think the important thing is we do have to hold to the reality and go, hey, that's a stupid thing to be losing your shit over. Because otherwise we're just all going to go crazy.
Right. To a certain point where life is too easy. Yeah, we're all going to...
I think there's a lot of people that don't even... they feel something. They don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah, but what I have to do is say, look, that's not a real problem. You got to relax, knock it off. You don't have any real, you're fine. You're at your personal trainer. You're cool.
Well,
but it's the, oh, poor baby, that's really terrible. I think that kind of reaction, while it's very compassionate and understanding, is going to lead us further into insanity.
I think you tend to trust people that we humans tend to trust people that we see that they want to help us. Meaning, if you get a hard ass on the other side that's saying, "Hey, you're a little bitch," like, man up, or even that's
being very sexist right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a sexist thing, but
it's okay.
Grow some balls, lady.
If you deal with somebody that's on an emotional state, they're more prone to hear somebody. Hopefully, somebody that's gonna say, "Hey, I know you're having a tough time. Hear me out. This is what I think you could do." But it's a very complex world that we live in, and the problem then we get into, like Renee was saying, everyone's medicated now. So
Yeah.
that takes it to
Yeah.
a different level too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, at the very least, people aren't coming to me with their bullshit then. They'll come to me and go, oh, Emmett's going to tell me some hard-nosed straight talk. So unless they're ready for straight talk, they're not going to come to me with trivial problems, right?
Don't you find that most people complain or tell you their problems not to get it solved? It's a sounding board. I'm not built that way. Like I there's only so much of that I can handle. I pass it on to other people. So I'm more like you, but
Yeah.
I come to realize that.
Yeah. What's your actual problem? What would
Yeah.
fix it? What do we got to do? What are our options? That's the world I want to live in.
Yeah. I mean, I asked that question because, you know, I've come to just hear that term more and more through the years, right? It's depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
And I 100% believe there are people that are born or tragedy happens or accidents happen, something traumatic that has caused them trauma to the brain. If they weren't born this way,
Yeah.
that the wiring is off, the chemical balance is off. They need to work things through. They do need assistance medically. They probably need to exercise, et cetera, et cetera. But to the extent of how much I'm hearing it now, I just wonder if it's just trendy and it's easy.
no, I think, in my opinion, I agree. I think with what Renee was saying, it's an innate human problem, and we'll reach a point in society where it's more available to see that human problem. So
is the metaverse going to be full of depressed, anxious, difficult people?
I'm hoping the mirror will show us how to fix that. Not really show us. I hope the mirror, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, and all that, those mirrors, technology has given us a window into a mirror, and we as humans need to figure out how to use that mirror.
Did you hear about that lady that filed a suit? She said she got groped in the metaverse. Her avatar got groped.
Already? Is there a real metaverse already you can go into?
Oh, there's a couple, dude.
Okay.
There's a couple.
I thought it was a future thing.
No, they're building it. You know, I think Facebook is trying to jump on it. Facebook actually, for all intents and purposes, it feels like they're always behind the ball, right? It's like even with blockchain, they were behind the ball. They're talking about the metaverse, but their metaverse is more of a virtual community to socialize.
Yeah.
Like there are metaverses out there that are now people are actively buying real estate. The very first $1 million real estate transaction in the metaverse has happened. Someone got groped in one of the metaverses. I don't know how, God bless her. I hope she's okay.
It's a virtual reality I've been looking for.
Yeah, I know.
Back to the pervert.
I know somebody. Yeah. You only get one cut. Right? I know.
Walk around like this. If anybody gets their squeeze, that's
I know a
fault.
couple of high realtor investors now transitioning to investing in virtual land and stuff. It's wild. It's crazy. So, do you fight it? Do you live in it? I don't know. I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm not. I want to delay my participation in it as long as possible, if ever. But I also doesn't mean that I can't participate monetarily. and make
Isn't
money.
one of the old sayings, land is one of the things that they're not building any more of? Now we're building more
Now
land.
we're building virtual land.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adidas just bought a plot in one of the metaverses.
Yeah.
It's a wild time, man. It's a wild time. Basically,
Right.
I find it very interesting that the Matrix is releasing
At this time.
At this time, it's like someone trying to tell us something, remind us of something. It's creepy, man. It's creepy. But what was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, I wanted to share a funny story. I was talking to my friends over the weekend. I went to visit some friends and family, and we were talking about kind of this topic too. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh, I'm not ashamed to say I cry a lot, but I cry in private." I go, "There's nothing wrong with that."
How much is a lot?
Well, I don't know. He said a lot, so I let it be. But I confessed something to him. I said, I'm one of those guys that sometimes I'm on the go too much and I forget, and then one day I'll just snap and I'm like, what was that about? Because it's not about this. It has to be something balled up. And then when I feel tense and I feel tensed up, there's an exercise that I do just for me. And for some reason, I feel like being transparent, I'm going to tell you guys, and maybe you guys can try it at home, is I know what triggers me when it comes to emotion and tears and crying.
Oh.
Yeah. And I seek it out on YouTube, and I have a good 20-minute, 25-minute cry, and I am good for probably another 3 months.
This relieves your stress?
It relieves my stress. And it's not negative stuff. It's all good stuff.
This makes you cry in a sad way or
No,
like
no,
an
good
angry
way. So what I go down is rabbit holes of family stuff, like family reunions, military deployed, coming home surprising their parents.
Okay. So heart-wrenching tearjerker
stuff. Son giving the dad his dream car. This one guy found the exact same car, same Camaro that his dad sold when his mom got pregnant with him. Yeah, right. Yeah. And it makes you cry. I just saw recently a guy, similar to like a Make-A-Wish Foundation or something. I think this kid had cerebral palsy or what have you, and he was driving this kid around in his Lamborghini, and the kid was like freaking out. He said, "I'm so sorry. I'm just so happy. I'm freaking out. Don't be scared of me. Don't be scared of me." I'm getting chills talking about it. Yeah. And the guy's like, "No, it's cool. It's cool." And he's driving, and he's like crying his eyes out while he's driving. And I'm just like, "Oh, that'll be me." But to my point, that's my outlet to keep my sanity, keep my.
I know what it is. You're such a business focused go getter that you need a little dose of humanity.
I think so. I think so. But yeah. So find your outlet, guys, and do that. But I find it's very cathartic for me. It's very, very healing. And then I go, okay, I'm ready to.
Do you like sad movies?
I don't necessarily like sad movies. Okay, I'll tell you a perfect example. The peak and the pinnacle for me is this. My favorite actor is Denzel Washington.
Okay.
All right. By the way, in this world, sidebar, in this era of the Extraction, John Wick, what's Matt Damon's character, the badass?
Born Identity.
Born Identity, Jason Bourne and all that.
The super action movies.
Yeah, people never bring up The Equalizer. If you guys haven't watched Denzel's Equalizer 1 and 2, you talk about badass. Anyway, sidebar. The movie that made me bawl the hardest was John Q. Are you guys familiar with that movie?
No, I just know every Denzel Washington movie I've seen, his character is barely controlled rage.
Yeah, it's just right below the surface.
Yes, right? He's containing the world's rage, right, and keeping it from busting loose.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I can relate. But so John Q, to summarize it, and it's been like 25 years, so spoiler alert. I'm not going to give the ending, but the whole overview of it is his son, probably 7-10 years old, whatever it is, has a heart condition, needs a transplant. He's a union worker, pays his dues, pays whatever, goes to the hospital. Turns out his insurance won't cover the transplant. Right.
Sounds like America.
Yeah, basically, right? Okay. And it's very truthful. So that's part one. So he's out of options. So what does he do? He gets a gun. He hijacks the hospital where his son is laying sick. Yeah. Kidnaps a couple of doctors, and he's basically saying, because you are a doctor, you're sworn to save a life. So I'm going to off myself. And you're going to put my heart in my son, save his life. Wow. And the doctor is like, don't do that. That's whatever. And then the leading surgeon said, well, if he's going to do it, I'm not wasting a heart. So we can't
stop. Is it the wrong size?
Well, I don't know how that works, right?
Got it.
But the point is, there's a segment where he sits by his son's bedside. The son's like, kind of in and out of sleep. And he knows he's about to off himself. So he spends 90 seconds and he talks to his son. And he gives him all the world's fatherly wisdom at his son's bedside.
Nice.
Just stuff like be a gentleman, treat women like the queen they are, be soft, be respectful, but always be a man and step up and honor your word and this and that. And you look him in the eye when you shake someone's hand. Just stuff like that, like a fatherly, strong thing.
Don't play the clarinet.
And dude, I was in the movie theater just and to this day, that's the thing that hits my heartstrings the most. So I don't know why I went on a tangent about that.
So those are part two.
That's a part two.
Wasn't it? Okay, no part two.
Oh, no. John Q. Yeah, that's John Q's the name. Is the name of the movie. I didn't say how they ended, but whether he
obviously he kills himself. Yeah,
I don't know. You got to see it.
Yeah, that's why there's no part two.
Right? Or you got to see it, or you watch just that clip on YouTube and have a nice crying session, then you go out there again. Yes. And you keep that rage down here. Yes. I didn't even think about that, but I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I relate to him so much.
That's right. He's raging at our defunct medical system.
Oh yeah,
our profiteering, parasitical, destructive medical industry.
As evil of a capitalist as I am, that system is 100% broken. I am in agreement with you on that. There's no reason why in theory the richest country in the world cannot have a better functioning system.
Are you an organ donor?
Am I supposed to say? Because don't they? In theory, didn't they say like it's on your card? If you put it on your card,
on your license, you put yes or no, right?
Yeah, I am.
So, what do you get for being an organ donor?
What do I get?
Yeah,
I get to hopefully save a life after I'm gone.
That's very nice.
You call me a nice person?
No, that's very nice.
Right.
If you needed a heart, or if you needed a lung, or if you needed a liver, or any of those organs, what do those cost?
Black market or market value?
No, at the hospital,
No,
at the regular.
I can't even tell you. I'm sure it's
We're talking like $500,000 to millions ballpark.
Well, you figure if an aspirin costs you $10,000, I'm sure it's going to cost you like $1 million for a heart, whatever it is, right?
Well, so what I'm curious about is how come you don't get any money for your organs? Right? The doctor doing the surgery makes a dickload of money. The anesthesiologist makes a ton of money. The nurses make a ton of money.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that
hospital makes money,
because
the
the procedure still costs money. Someone's getting paid still.
Yeah, so why can't you get $1,000?
Like your benefactor or something like that?
No, why can't you get $1,000 for checking yes?
I don't know. I didn't think of it that deep.
Because there's a shortage of organs, right? Whenever you need a heart, there's like a line.
Oh, there's a long list. Yeah.
Right? They're never just on deck.
Yeah.
So obviously we need more organ donors. Why can't we give $1,000 for people to check yes?
Yeah. That's a pretty good incentive.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole conspiracy theory behind that too.
What's that?
Is that you shouldn't check yes because they'll never reset to say two. They'll leave you last. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
You know, well, that's conspiracy for everything.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, any additional thoughts? Anything else?
I feel like we turned your short podcast into a long podcast.
Which is fine.
Oh, you're going long form anyway.
I'm going longer form. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna play around with it.
Bigger, harder, stronger, faster.
Yeah. Have you seen that documentary? There's that documentary by that name. Bigger, Stronger, Faster. It's by the Bell brothers. So basically, they actually do really good documentaries. They do another one about the smuggling of cocaine and the history behind it called Cocaine Cowboys.
Okay.
But the one that the Bigger, Stronger, Faster, they dove into the world of steroids and the misconception of steroids and stuff like that. It's pretty good. They do good work. But one of the brothers died of something, of an overdose or something like that. So I kind of proned him to making a documentary. So he dove deep into it. And I was telling my wife, I said, I think it was a cautionary tale, but after watching it, all I want to do is steroids now.
Yeah, I was going to ask, should I do roids or what? Like, I want big shoulders.
Those guys are jacked, man. One dude is like, I've been doing it for 40-something years. Look at me. I'm fine.
I'm He-Man.
Yeah. And then one dude literally was still living out of his van. Like all he spent his money on is gold gym membership in LA, lives out his van and steroids.
Buy steroids,
and
yeah.
steroids. I'm like, oh, God. Not me.
I admire that single-minded focus.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a fulfilling life. I see dudes, so I go to LVAC here. I see dudes that are there all the time.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
And they're in great shape.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, it's just all they do.
It's a social scene. You know?
I mean, it's a weird one. You're like, hey, what's up, bro?
Yeah, because of my schedule, I go all over the place. It's not like I go at noon or go at 7 or whatever, right? So I'll go at, wherever. On Tuesday, I'll go at 2. Saturday, on Wednesday, I'll go at 10 a.m. But you're right. There's like the same people are there. I'm not talking about people that work there. People that just go to the gym. I'm like,
yeah, this guy's always here. He must be here. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also kind of a social environment too. I think that's their social network.
I don't know. They don't look like they're having fun.
Really?
It's not the LVAC I go to on Flamingo 215. It's not like a chatty place. Like
I go to 215 on Eastern when I do go. It's a social club for sure.
Huh.
For sure. Yeah, people hang out at the juice bar and they have lunch there and all that stuff. I'm like, probably go back for round 2. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Quinoa time.
Yeah. Yeah, but the gym is an interesting place.
All right. Are you ripped under this jacket?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. I need to get back into it though. I was telling somebody the other day, business has been phenomenal. Money's been great, but I lost sight of my physical, taking care of my physicality. I've been eating like shit. I know. I blame my mom. So I moved my parents here a year and a half ago. So now they retired. Yeah. She lives an hour and a half. She lives 10 minutes away, and I'm eating her food like every day.
Yeah.
And if I don't eat her food, she's offended. And everything is rice noodles, and you guys will see it tonight. I don't eat for one. I consume. So,
you're burning calories.
Well, that's the problem. I used to burn calories. But I'll get back into it. I gotta figure it out.
Nice.
So hopefully next time I see you guys, you driving a nice Corvette, huh?
I mean,
hope so.
Oh, you'll be driving a nice Corvette, yeah?
Yeah, we'll see. So so this is 100% obnoxious and first world problem. So disclaimer.
No, but this is a goal that drives you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shiny thing that keeps me hungry. So I was debating because I don't know if you guys you probably have too, is the C8, the new design, the Corvette, especially the Z06, phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
But they no will be making a manual shift.
It's old news, man.
C7 is the only one. So now I'm looking back going, this might be my last chance to own a manual sports car.
Just because you love the shifting?
I'm old school, dude. I'm from a different era. I learned my very first car that I drove illegally. One of my friends taught me was manual. I taught so many people growing up manual. It's fun.
I will help you transition. My 2002 Z06 was manual. Very fast car. I didn't take it to the track, but there were times when challengers would pull up and rev up, and so you have a fun like street race at the stoplight. And that car was super quick because it's just power to weight ratio, right? So the number one problem I had was I couldn't put the power on the ground. I didn't have race tires. I got road tires because I'm basically driving around like my daily driver.
Yeah.
But if I had stickier tires, I could have launched harder. But the other problem I'd have is I'd be pulling ahead until I go to shift and I lose time. You see it. They just, as fast as a human can go, you still lose that fraction of a second as you're shifting.
Yeah.
And there's a physical timing to it. Yeah. So it was fun. If you're ever sitting in traffic or whatever, using it as a regular car, it gets annoying. But literally the automatics are just so much faster.
Well, I'm not Jack. I'm not a racer. I'll probably still drive like a grandpa. It'll be like weekends, fun drives, take the hood off, nice long cruise. It's not gonna be my daily driver. So there is something about the shift though, right? I mean,
I do like the C7 Z06s.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'll either get that or the Z51 package. I don't need a whole full on Z06.
Yeah, but they look better.
Z51 looks very similar. For like 10,000 less. I'm still frugal.
All right.
But unfortunately,
you could get the Grand Sport and get all the looks without.
Yeah, that too. But unfortunately, it's like now I can order not Z06 but a Stingray for around between 85 and 86.
Woo!
Right, brand new. Yeah. But now the used car market's crazy. I was looking like 2017, 2018. They're like $60,000. Yeah. I'm just like, dude, now you guys are steering me into buying a new car, which breaks every rule I ever said because it doesn't make.
You should look at it as saving 20 grand.
I know, but it's so close to that mark, right? If it was like 150 grand, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing the right thing. But no, I will. I'm getting C7 just because of the manual.
The stick,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, hopefully, my birthday's in March. We'll see. Check with me again. By then, I'll probably make another excuse why I haven't bought it.
But, so, if you delay your goal, it'll keep you chasing.
Yeah. To a certain extent, at some point though, I got to reward myself. I'm getting a little burned out, quite honestly. It's fun. It's fun to be responsible, but after a while, it's like, gosh, In line with my podcast is you get yourself to a certain level of financial independence. You have the right to do that you want your money. Yeah. People splurge. I was arguing with somebody about flying somewhere, and they're like, "Oh, can you believe this person such and such flew first class for just 4-hour flight?" I'm like, "Don't be counting people's money. They'll do what they want to do with it." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, even if I was a billionaire, I'll never fly first class."
Oh, I totally fly first class.
Well, first of all, you're a billionaire. You have your own plane.
Yeah.
But number two, that's why you'll never be a billionaire, because there's an association of whatever the negative association he has in his mind with wealth.
Yeah. Or if you're too busy pinching pennies, you're gonna miss the big dollars.
He also does what I'm not talking about financially poor, but mentally poor people do, which is they count other people's money. Oh, yeah. Don't be busy counting other people's money. Worry about your own. Worry about your own. Make your own.
Yeah, I'm lucky to go on a lot of vacations and trips and travel internationally and travel to vacate. Like, I fly more than most people, and I can't splurge for first class yet, but that would be nice to fly over first class.
The commitment is when you're ready, be ready all the time. It's hard to go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Delay it as long as you can, because once you go, it'd be like, oh, dude, I've seen the other side. It's hard to go back. Yeah, it's hard to go back. So
I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is you guys want to do, man. However, I can support this podcast, your ideas, business. Anytime you guys want to get together, food, I am here. I love the way you guys think. We don't always have to agree. I think that's actually very important that we don't. And
I disagree.
I disagree. You're disagreeing. But anything that I could do to support, you guys are awesome. So thank you for having me back, even though this is my podcast. And we'll see where next year takes us, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick. That.
Cheers.
I need to get swag too.
All right.